See, can I borrow your pen? Quick. Thanks. Ooh, got it. That's good. Comes out of here. Oh, yes. One of my applicants is probably not gonna make it. They were having chest pains. So, oh geez. Yeah, so they're getting that checked out. It's Lakeview.
Send anyone?
Yeah, I asked if they could. The only one who could go was their spouse, but their spouse is gonna have to stay behind and watch the kids. I told them, yeah, I'd figure out if we would have to assess the fear mod. Yeah. And then the only other thing is just the what is it? Preliminary items, just getting these restamped.
Oh, okay. Oh, that guy.
Yeah,
I'll just hand it over to you.
yeah.
Anybody else have any?
Oh, it's good. Nice. So.
Board will call the application number, early in the meeting, we'll swear everyone in. Staff will present, the city's position, and then the board will ask if you have anything else that you would like to add. That'd be your time.
Always just raise your hand or stand up.
At that point, you will be at the table.
Yeah.
And if you're,
Was I supposed to,
if you're presenting.
supposed to sign? I guess opposed to.
Oh, okay. Then
Yeah, I want
after-
businesses.
after the applicant has their opportunity to speak, then the board will ask if anyone else would like to speak, and then that would be the time to raise your hand and come up to the table.
Yeah, we got 3 minutes.
Also, it's solid my.
Yep.
Okay.
But if they ask you a question, you respond, it doesn't count against your time.
Recess?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
No, not recess. Well, yeah.
What case are you here for?
What's that?
What case are you here for?
105.
Oh,
Holly Avenue.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm a business that's next door to the shared property. Which is a great concern because of the dogs.
Mhm. Yep, we were just there.
Oh,
We
you
saw
was
it.
over there?
Yeah, we saw it.
Oh, okay. Shoot, well, yeah, we can take a measurements and picture, try to figure out what's happening, so.
Yeah, we got some good pictures. So, I mean, if you want to add, like picture wise, we can, share.
Gentlemen. Hi.
Basically, long, to be fair. I don't think they've caught up with the whole place to get into 40s this week.
Well, we're in meetings last.
So. We were saying, they were doing, that like, it was only for some location. I can't find where you would put that, so like, conditions.
No, it's like for this outbound from the 2. Yeah.
I swear, there's an additional application, but it wasn't. I couldn't find the state limit.
I had, but this thing came in. May, and it was a expedited.
That might have been about just that.
Because Jen's a lot. Yeah, he was asking why I was there. Well, that was a martial education. So. I know it said that their son's not gonna, they don't go for 2 hours. I didn't need that.
That's fine.
I'm like, where does it say this?
Where was that? Maybe if you tabled.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
They have to get everything, so CV or rezone.
No, a lot of they try and get something to do. So that's it.
Yeah.
Like try. So I said, okay, we don't have get to what.
So I do remember that kind of spitting. So.
Go. Okay. Okay, if I ask you this question. Okay, so we're still working on. My, something, my son about to Jane.
Yeah.
In there. as far as why was it tape?
Because they wanted the applicants to come up, which they,
Which is, go first. Not this morning.
yeah. And they're, in addition, they don't have to go about stuff themselves, but explain to us how's this being mitigated?
But there's 10 spots in the front.
Which the stars, the city's making them, why are people talking about side? You go talk to each other, but not over each. So the city is making them remove that kind of part because they don't want to back into the right of way. Safety issue.
Safety issue then for the businesses on that. We have it now. We have.
Well, at least you have parking.
So it was removed because of added congestion for the area and the safety concern.
It's not a suggestion, but it's a city standard. They don't want backing into the public street.
So our building's grandfathered.
Yeah.
But I guess if you got an impairments, like they didn't do.
Well, you can do a change of use. Doing something for update the use for intense use. The city would probably come ask you as well.
What I didn't expect is, so why are we, the variance of 35 down to 10? But then and the other
30 to 10.
If eliminate 10, so that 21. Change in use, or the city doesn't like streets, even though.
Yeah.
I have that application 24 years started.
Yeah.
So what is the, driving through the window? I just told them to put it out.
Yeah.
Right, about between the.
There you go. Right here. This is the shared use path. Yeah, you can come back here. Don't go in that. This is the shared driveway with their easement. And then this is where the drive starts. This is the window.
Okay, as they told me yesterday, I talked to that, they said it was going to be in the drive between the two buildings.
Accident.
She's doing
Dan.
cabins.
This is what the site plan shows.
Okay, because I was, it was right between them, it's right there. Right there is where I saw it.
Next to you.
But it's the other location.
Yeah. So this is where they'll come in. Hopefully. So there's always gonna be a security guard, kind of like a traffic manager, so it's gonna be, making sure that the stacked spaces aren't blocking your semis aren't blocking the stacked spaces. They're able to put there. And then they're trying to keep it as clear as possible.
It's like the only way that we can get a box truck into our dock is, and we've been doing it for 24 years, trying to set it. For those three spots, it's free parking and fully parking fronts. We had asked them to move those cars. When,
I wouldn't say that for the record.
I mean, that's what we had to do.
What's that?
It's getting to the point.
I mean, for us to hit our dock,
Yeah.
we need that space to.
Well, they'll eat you alive to say that, because you're basically saying, we don't want this to happen, because if you be a good neighbor, say, we'll allow this, but we want permission to use these on your basis. That's it. 'Cause this is-
Well,
that's-
logically means we're gonna be sitting in the driveway, no choice, but let's have to sit there and unload the entire.
Right, what I'm saying is this is their property.
Okay,
I
well,
know.
They can park there.
if it's bad
It's not
enough,
the matter of it,
but if we just pack up in a common area,
Mhm.
we're gonna block it.
Yeah.
so we won't have a
And
choice.
I don't have options.
We will have.
I
to
mean,
sit
the
there.
way we always have.
Who's talking? Well, talking to each other.
Well, just how we've always have done is we work with the tenants and the way I've gone to three. And hey, I can truck it with your cars,
Mhm.
sure. We've never, right?
I don't see any issue with that happening tonight. They seem like decent people.
Well,
But I think that's the width of the drive. What's the measurement that you have on that drive?
21 feet.
It's not. You measured it, I have video of it today. There's a point at 17 and 19 feet. There's a drop off through the basement, and there's our electrical panel right there, the concrete post that Yeah, that yellow pole on the right, touching their building, that's 19 feet, just about exact.
That's the south side of the building. This is where.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's not a room for 2 cars. Coming in and out.
Well, technically, two-way aisles, minimum 20 feet.
It's 19 feet. How do I give you that sort of evidence?
When it's your county back, say that, show it to the board.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Yeah, can you measure it, because there's steps going down to the basement, like, aren't they there? It's 17, build, their building. It's 17 and a half feet. There's no way.
17 from where to where? Yeah.
There's, on their building, it'd be about where that.
I can show you on my phone.
I was gonna say, the photo on your phone, is it a video, is it a picture, what is it?
Yeah, both.
You could email it to us if you want us to bring it up when you're presenting. It's up to you.
Oh, yeah, maybe you know now.
What's your
Yeah.
It's J, F, F, R, D, I. S, I'm saying, he's at Columbus, that.
You sound long stuff.
So, yeah, send it to me.
Wow.
How are you?
Your sign in.
Oh, thank you. Hey.
Yeah. Did it come in? Yeah, go over here. You can ask me for grants, it's just zero. To zero. So you can say, look at it.
Okay, yeah, yeah, I mean, that makes sense for me, somebody.
Never
Really saying that, really, good back best.
Oh, really? Oh, they did it.
Never just like.
Well, yeah, I mean, that might.
Okay, well, if I see him show up, we'll grab it.
How's it going?
Oh, it's gone. I'll let you sell it.
Your building's pretty dumb, wait.
It's been crazy January.
Yeah, certainly. It's not. It's like
I know, I was like, it's really nice. Like, that ain't beautiful. Like, bronchitis.
These people, I would do drive it both this way. And I got that. Oh, sorry. Do we have that window?
Yeah, theoretically, we're usually, just because. Yeah, we'll make sure, we'll double check if it's live streaming recording. Okay, so, yeah. Yep.
What is that?
Yeah, of course.
Is that you?
No, that's not just a picture.
Is I know. I mean, you have yourself. I was saved from my car. I said.
Grab some.
I'll do it with you. There you go. Yeah.
We got notaries.
That's my.
Oh, yeah, sounds good. Out front.
Can I start a quarter or something?
It's not that long.
No,
Maybe $2.
yeah, it's just like, don't have committed withdrawal.
I don't think that.
But
I was like, how far back are we gonna go? You know, report card. Then you do, that's not your mom's signature. I'm in detention still. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been making it for.
Yeah, every time I run it.
No, the girl at my last job had it, so people would come in, and they were making $3. Actually, everybody did. That gets sleep.
I got. Oh,
Get a fancy stand.
wait. Oh, I saw them wrong. I think they changed the order.
Every couple.
It's like, I'm convinced.
So you're.
Are you going to go hold it down again?
Yeah, let's get it.
Like, you have to take, yeah, like. I don't know.
So I think maybe, I think one thing. Oh,
How?
Yeah.
You apply online, you take like a class, like little booklet or take, and you get like something like $5. I'm not sure if you're attorney, it's as long as you're licensed, but I'm not sure if it is. But it's not like.
Everybody you guys asked was Andrew. That's the. We're over here wandering and.
no, yeah, I was reading, I've been reading.
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
It's like, it's.
Yeah, it's really handy when you're like animations.
Probably can't notarize your own with that.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm missing.
I mean, you are verifying you are things.
I sort of like, somewhere with me. Well, now they're going out. I'm saying out of.
These.
Yes, I'm doing.
Have something to say about that?
He said, improve that agenda. So what's that? Just have to talk about it.
I heard an attorney talking about something about live streaming.
Yeah, remind me.
Thank you.
Oh, because some people. Yeah, and I could have to go down. I'm not, I was like. Or selling.
Yeah.
Oh, it's transfer.
And then it was some.
I just, yeah, and I don't feel super granted.
At some point.
Case on myself, and I'm definitely a part of it.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
And then I could.
Kind of stuff that it is out.
Like, I'll put up.
Oh, for him.
Whereas, so he doesn't have any.
Yeah, I would probably.
So it's around her state. Exactly.
Yeah. There it is.
We'll notarize your.
That's right. Yeah.
Put the stamp on the card.
Good, how are you?
And test.
I'm just gonna submit that. It'll be like, I didn't get this.
Okay.
Second day.
Whatever.
But I think if they are.
I think the thing is just dry open, it's all massive. You're smarter than that. I'm assuming it doesn't have anything. Our daughter gets that. But sometimes it's just protecting what they have, you know what I mean?
So. We're. Then what? Get one. I would always do everything.
I saw it upon. What's that?
I doubt it.
No, here's a full package from here. You don't want to sit over here by me?
He just assumed he needed a package. That's why he stopped with that.
That's right here.
And you just assumed he wasn't on.
Kind of built pattern.
Yeah, it's been a pattern. Did you see her? We got a point of difference.
I don't.
Oh.
He off of.
He told me last.
At some point,
It would be a review, when he goes through our staff review,
Got too much.
our kind of clearance. So they would, our office would have to check that already.
I don't think he wants.
Yeah, they were traffic.
I think it's more outside of the other, your repeat.
Right.
I'm never.
Point about. So we'll get 20 across the guy, let's mention.
I think I'd like to be sure as far as the rate.
I mean, he's going up, he just said, we're not. Traffic about.
If you have other.
But still, something
that's
that's
been
been
like,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
there.
big division
Covers that and.
There's been another measure.
So they wanted that. Plus the. So much.
One of the measurements, that's.
These will work for the others.
Is there anything that I can look at?
You came earlier.
I think for the minus right. That's probably.
There's much waiting to get started. So there's once our.
The gold standard is getting some houses that's site survey.
Which is so small.
Which, a private, the city doesn't have to survey, so it would be a private, somebody to do that, so.
Is it a real?
So for the applicant, for them, the applicant is.
Well, we want all the planning with, when we want it. So we have like, for the chair there to talk, and some of the members talk also, yes, telling us what their mind word is all, which is good. And, you know, and while I think.
It's based on a measurement that is. If the variance is a, so an example that we often is like keep a homeowner or one six side yard setback.
Does everybody?
So your side yards, let's say it's 3 feet, right? They don't necessarily know exactly where their the boundary of the property is, but they have a fence. So they say, okay, I want my setback to the fence.
Some of them.
It's like 2.5 feet. So I'm gonna request a reduction to 3 feet, so it's required to 2.5 feet. But hours, tell them they can do that, but it's on them to understand that that fence is not necessarily on the line. So let's say you have set variance, we're saying some variance happen, but based on the lot line, we're not where the fence is. It is the risk of the same person requesting the variance that they are on. Then I measurement and basing my measurements on where the fence is, not based on where the lot line is. And I'm just going to make this back to enforce it.
But anyway, you think
So
so?
the,
We should find out.
Are we ready to start?
I was looking for one.
then it's on that, they would have to then.
In this case,
And an updated variance,
Otherwise, yeah, I think we're good.
you know, it was sufficient. But none of them are, unless the other thing is like, if this particular measurement that you bring up doesn't really impact any of these variances, then that's a moot point. Because really, we're just focused on your variance and themselves.
What they're asking. Is it really? Yeah, it's not saying.
What is when, where that? What is the whole story?
Bypass means you avoid that drive.
Right, what I'm saying.
We're starting.
Right.
We got, it's 4:30, so we're starting.
I'm gonna try to talk about it, fix that.
Hold on.
I know it's a little bit. We just understand it's for. It's their show, it's their distribution. It's in my room. You have.
Okay, we are ready to call to order. Am I, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Can you hear myself?
This is the January 28th, 2025 meeting of the Board of Zoning Adjustment. If you have not been here before, I will give you a couple of our ground rules. We hear applications for zoning variances as well as special permits. And we call them in order of the agenda. The applicant will come forward to speak. We have 5 minutes, and then I will open it up to community members here who want to speak for or against the application. You can come up to the chair, to the mic, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. There is a sign-in sheet up here for you to write your name down. When you come up to the chair, I will ask you to state your name, obviously for the record, but then I will ask you, have you been sworn in? Because your testimony needs to be the truth for the record. So instead of me swearing in everybody individually, if you know you're planning to speak tonight, I will ask you to stand and I will swear you in as a group. You can raise your right hand. You promise that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth and nothing but the truth. Please state, I do.
I do.
Perfect. Once your case is heard, you are free to leave. And if you have any follow-up with the city, they'll be available in their offices tomorrow. Anything that we need to go over as preliminary matter before we go into the agenda?
Yeah, there is one preliminary matter. I have 2 sets of elevations that need signatures. These were signed at the last BZA hearing. Those signed copies have since been displaced.
Okay.
It's the same elevation. It's for BZA 24-107 and BZA 24-109.
Do you know who signed them? Because I was not here last week.
It would have been me.
It was
Nor was I.
Okay. I'll have Michael Jones sign them.
Gotcha.
But these are cases from November.
Yeah, it's from a while ago.
Oh, so I guess I'll sign them. Okay.
Formality at this point.
Okay, then sign these. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay.
Did you have anything to chat thing?
Oh, yes. Good call. Thank you. Yeah, we can we'll wait till that case. Just in case they do come.
Right.
Madam Chair, if I might just, for the audience and the board members, since we don't have a court reporter here tonight, if you could speak clearly into the microphone so that we are able to have a clear record, we would appreciate that. Thank you.
Is the microphone on at the desk?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, case number 1 is 1155 West Mound Avenue. Okay, city.
BZA 24-071, 1155 West Mound Street is located on the south side of West Mound Street, approximately 700 feet east of Dana Avenue. It is zoned CPD commercial and part of the Southwest Area Commission. The 47.13 acre site is developed with the remnants of Cooper Stadium. Surrounding uses include a cemetery to the southeast, a vacant parking lot to the west, and Interstate 70 to the north. The applicant proposes to install a portable building for office use and requests a special permit to allow the portable building to remain on site permanently. Planning has no comment on the proposal, as neither the Southwest Area Plan nor the Columbus Citywide Planning policies address the issue of portable buildings. Therefore, planning has no comment. The Division of Traffic Management has no comment, and the Southwest Area Commission has no approval with a vote of 5-0. While the C2P2 do not, while the C2P2 policies do not specifically address portable buildings, staff can recommend approval of the requested special permit with the following conditions. If approved, the special permit will be valid for 2 years with, from the date of this board order. Check.
Okay, can you state your name, whether or not you were sworn in?
I'm Jeffrey L. Brown, attorney with Smith and Hale for the applicant. I have been sworn in. This is Old Cooper Stadium. If you've ever been there, it has a stadium and a huge parking lot. This is a truck school, and they would like to keep 2 trailers on the site. One they use for their classes, and the other one they use for office administration. There was some confusion with staff. It says 2 years. We would actually like to have it for 5 years if the board is comfortable with that.
I'll just add to that, the original application, somewhere said 2 years on it, which I can't find. This had to go through, a council variance, so I got this in May. We went through a council variance first, so staff doesn't have any issues with it being 5 years.
So if it was at council variance, why is it here?
The reason we had to do a council variance is because of the use itself.
Oh, so you gotta use.
So we got a use
Okay.
variance and then that enabled us to then go ask for a special permit for the
Okay.
trailers.
Okay,
Is it on a site plan?
Yes, we've got, I mean, it's a big parking lot and there are 2 little boxes on it.
So I get it, but is it something they plan to move around or? what?
They have moved in the past. I would prefer not to tie it down, so we wouldn't have to come back. Obviously, we would have to go get our site plan compliance with the city, so that will indicate where the locations are.
I'm okay with it if it's 5 years.
As well.
is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application? I'm sorry, Mr. Brown, I should have had you get closer to the microphone as well. Just to make sure we're everybody here. Okay, so no one's coming forward. So, do we have any other questions for the applicant from the board? Okay, for special permits, I think the standards are, whether there is would adversely, impact the neighborhood. I think that's one. I'm looking over at council to give me.
So.
Thank you. Okay, right, okay. I don't see that this would have substantial detriment to the public good, as these are going to be on the parking lot. No substantial impairment of the general purpose and intent of the zoning district in which this use will be located, and I don't find that this will have incompatibility with the general character of the neighborhood. So I am comfortable with a yes vote. If anybody thinks differently, they can speak up. Okay, we're ready to call the questions?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Ms. Egelhoff?
Yes, I vote yes, based on the chair's analysis of the special permit.
Mr. Jones?
I vote yes for a 5-year term for the special permit.
Mr. Malaka?
I concur with the chair and vote for a 5-year term.
Chair Palmer Bailey?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, 4267 Fort Watch Drive.
I number 2.
Yeah.
I put 7. It's.
Oh, I'm sorry, it skips. Hold on.
What is this one?
2207 Performance Way.
PZA 24-155 for 2207 Performance Way, located on the south side of Performance Way, approximately 1,870 feet west of Allen Creek Drive. It is owned to M1 Manufacturing and it's located in the far south Columbus Area Commission. The 1.48 acre site is currently undeveloped. Surrounding uses are primarily manufacturing. The applicant proposes to construct a new office and warehouse building with outdoor storage and is requesting variances to not provide dumpster screening, to reduce the building setback from 125 feet to 66 feet from Performance Way, to reduce the side yard setback from 25 feet to 7 feet on the east side, from 25 feet to 1 foot on the west side, and to reduce the rear yard from 25 feet to 5 feet, to reduce the open storage setback from 25 feet to 0 feet, to reduce the minimum number of parking spaces required from 26 to 13, and to reduce the minimum number of loading spaces from 1 to 0. There is an updated comment from planning that received just after the facts went out. Planning is in full support of the revised variance request. Staff note the parking space / loading space variance reduction is due to the company's vehicle based at the site rather than employee vehicles. As a mitigating factor for support, staff continue to encourage additional bike parking be provided for consistency with South Allen Creek plan and C2P2 guidelines, but do not condition support on this request. Staff note the proposed building elevations and applicant's commitment to street trees along the roadway frontage are consistent with plan and C2D2 design guidelines. Division of Traffic Management has no comments. The Far South Columbus Area Commission recommends approval of the request by a vote of 7-1 with 1 abstention. Staff can recommend approval of the requested variances because the proposed use and building design are similar to other surrounding uses and buildings. Furthermore, the applicant would have a difficult time developing this parcel in compliance with the M1 standards due to the parcel's unique shape.
Okay, can you state your name, whether or not you were sworn in?
Jeffrey L. Brown, attorney for the applicant with Smith and Hale. I've been sworn in.
Doug Cooper with the owner. I have been sworn in.
Okay, great.
They have a construction company. If you ever wonder how those concrete walls are built in buildings, they have the forms and the trucks. That's what they do. So we have a lot of equipment that comes in and out of that property. And so when you calculate the parking numbers, you have to provide for the square footage of the building. And then if you have an equipment or a vehicle space there, you have to count for those. So that's why we've asked for the parking variance. And again, this is a little unique. It's M1. The M1 building setback is done from the center of the road as opposed from the property line. So that was one of the reasons we've asked for a reduction in that. But we appeared in front of the area commission and they recommended approval. It's an industrial area, as you can see from the aerial that the city had up there. You'll see a lot of outside storage that already exists in the general vicinity of our proposed facility.
So the side yard setbacks are just,
to be able to maximize the use of the property. It's a little odd shape. We see there, there's a little tail to the property at the southeast corner. And so what we want to be able to do is move things around. We have forms that when they're not at a job site, we'll be storing them on the property. And so we just would like to have more flexibility. The building goes out front with the parking in front of that. So a lot of that is going to be shielded by the building itself. But you can see what is going on the adjacent properties already. So we're very, I think, compatible with the neighborhood with what we're proposing.
is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application? I see no one coming up. Does the board have any other questions? Okay. So it's going through these factors here. I think that the variances being requested are substantial, but I think that because of the odd shape of the lot and the compatibility with the neighborhood, I think that we're comfortable with that, and those can be okay. I think that the property could yield a reasonable return without the variances, but I don't see that factor as overwhelming the rest of the application. I don't see any governmental services being adversely affected. Whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction is really not really relevant here. Again, because of the odd shape of the use, I think that no other feasible solution could be granted except but to allow the variances. And I don't think this goes against the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinances. So with that, I would be in favor of supporting these variances in total. I think there was a condition around the bike rack.
Yes, we'll agree to add a
You're agreeing
bike
with
rack.
Okay,
Right, rack.
okay. With that, are we ready to call the question?
I'll call a question.
Question's been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Jones? I concur with my colleague. I think that these are appropriate variances for the property and definitely follow the spirit and intent of of our code. And it's the highest and best use for the way that the lot is situated. I vote yes.
Mr. Malcolm?
I concur with the chair's assessment and vote yes.
Ms. Egelhoff?
I likewise concur with the chair and my colleagues' analysis on the Duncan factors and vote yes.
Chair Pompeo?
Yes, variance is granted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, 4267 Walnut Drive. The applicant here. Is that you, sir?
Which is two in the PowerPoint.
Is that you guys?
We're number 4.
Oh, no, I'm on number 3.
Support with.
So the applicant's not here. Okay, we'll hold off on that. 1305 Holly Avenue.
Okay. Technical difficulties. Get it up away. All right, 1305 Holly Avenue, on the west side of Holly Avenue, approximately 240 feet north of West Third Avenue. Site is zoned in manufacturing and is located within the Fifth by Northwest area division. The 0.443 acre site is developed with a 7,210 square foot industrial building. Surrounding uses are primarily industrial. The applicant proposes a change of use to allow a dual use marijuana dispensary with an associated drive-through. Requesting a special permit for the dispensary and variances. Reduce the required number of parking spaces from 30 to 10. Reduce the number of stacked spaces from 8 to 5, and do not provide a bypassing. The planning division has no comment on the special permit request, as neither the Fifth by Northwest neighborhood plan nor Columbus citywide planning policies has guidance on special permits. Fifth by Northwest neighborhood plan guidelines state that parking reductions may be appropriate for higher density mixed-use projects along Fifth Avenue and Grandview, south of Fifth, Third Avenue and King Avenue, and or other commercial areas served by transit. C2P2 design guidelines state that requests for parking reductions, including those beyond that provided by applicable overlay provisions, will be considered based on the provision of pedestrian and bicycle facilities beyond that required by code. Staff is supportive of the parking reduction request, but requests additional bicycle parking be added to the site plan to fulfill C2P2 design guidelines. The Division of Traffic Management is able to support the requested variance to 321211, which is the reduction in the bypass lane, provided that the site limits uses with an order station and a pickup window for pickup completed orders that were placed outside the drive-through stacking area. So in other words, you can't just drive up and place an order, it has to be pre-ordered. After reviewing the project, the Division of Mobility and Parking Services has determined that the parking study is not required and the variance is less than 30 parking spaces. The Division of Mobility does ask that 2 bike racks also be installed. So planning and traffic on the same page with that one. City staff recommends approval as the applicants have provided a presentation to the applicable neighborhood group, providing the introduction of the company along with background, anticipated earliest opening date, operating hours and days of the week, and emergency contact name and number. We are asking for that condition. The variance to 331211 is limited to uses without an order station and with a pickup window for picking up completed orders that were placed outside the drive-up stacking area, and that 2 bike racks be installed on the site. Madam Chair.
Okay, can you state your names and whether you were sworn in?
Jacqueline Wick, yes, I was sworn in.
Okay,
Ian Jones, and yes, it was sworn.
so let me see here. Jacqueline Wick, you are part of,
Culture.
okay, gotcha. Okay, who wants to speak on this application?
I'll start off and just kind of revisit some of the pieces of the site plan and the variance request. So we are requesting a variance for a bypass lane. We're requesting a variance to reduce the stacking spaces from 8 to 5. There is another category that allows, I believe, 4 spaces. So we think we're within that realm.
What, you're in within what?
We're very similar to the other use, for example, though we're adhering to the 8, and we're requesting the variance for 8.
Not sure what point you're making about the 4.
Okay, there's multiple categories within the zoning code.
Why don't you focus on the parking? That's where you missed the mark. the last
Okay,
time.
yep. Yeah, so as far as parking, we've come back with a new, some additional solutions. So we can kind of, we can demonstrate some kind of a walkthrough of a comparable facility.
So you still don't have parking?
We do. So we have well, we can jump right to it. We have a garage that has 10 spaces allocated for us. That is just down the block. So it's 0.32 miles.
How many?
10 spaces.
No, I'm saying how far away? I'm sorry.
Oh, 0.32.
Can you show us where it is on the map?
Yep.
So none of your employees will park on site?
We have 3 on-site employee spaces.
Okay.
So the people are parking around the corner down the street, okay. And that's 10 spaces, are those marked?
They
for
would
your
be,
business?
they would be, yeah, allocate like designated parking spaces in the garage.
I think the bigger issue that we were concerned with previously is what do you have on site for customers? Sounds like you're still taking 3 of the spaces that are on site and giving it to your employees. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's our intention, is to have 3 designated on-site for employees.
And so how many spaces do you have remaining for customers?
7.
Yeah, 7.
And you're supposed to have 30 total?
Well, 30 total is if you use the building square footage as the basis of the demand.
That's what applies to everybody. So I'm just curious, why would you take 3 of the on-site spaces and allocate them for employees versus sending all of your employees to the alternative site?
We think that just to keep the navigation simpler for customers, that keeping them in the southern side of the building. I mean, I don't think we have to be wed to the 3 being for employees. We're open to be flexible with that. But we thought keeping customers to the south of the building made sense, just so they're only going to one spot to park rather than, trying to go to the north where there's 3 spots.
I understand your logic. Thank you for explaining. I don't know that I've heard anything compelling about taking care of customers parking on site. I really haven't. You said you have 7 spaces. And how many people could be in there at a given time?
Do you want?
So it's, so we have similar challenges in the Akron location. And then we've got some sister locations that also have off-site employee parking. For the Akron location specifically, we only have 7 also spots for patients and customers to come in. The turnover is generally very quick, less than 10 minutes. It's a 3-to-1 ratio. So 3-to-1 ratio for the employees that are on the floor. So it's generally only about 4 employees on the floor at any given time.
So does that 12 customers
Correct, yes.
and 7 spaces?
Yeah, but generally, I mean, those are for peak hours. The AU rollout the volume hasn't been what it was anticipated to be. And if there's a slide that has to do with the amount of dispensaries that are coming to the area as well. So that will even be, dispersed out. There's 15 in Franklin County currently, and there'll be an additional 10 by the time our stores opened as well. So
what you're suggesting is there will be so many dispensaries, people won't be coming to yours.
well, the volume's not going to be exponential.
I disagree with that. And
Okay.
you're comparing us to Akron. No comparison in population, anything like that. So that's not the kind of peer city that I would look at as a comparison. I had hoped that you guys would come in here with a clear defined plan for adequate parking for your customers on site, clearly marked, so that it doesn't encroach upon neighboring businesses or the neighborhood itself. And I'm not hearing that. That's what I'm hoping you can just get to.
So I think, part of, the goal of providing the pickup window is to partially reduce that demand. So, when we're talking about customers as far as, which ones are going to the window, to the pickup window versus in store.
We just heard 12 customers in the store. Now you weren't referring to the pickup window, were you?
No, not necessarily.
So that's still 12 customers in the store and you still have a drive-through lane that's being serviced, right? Simultaneously.
Correct, yeah, and this is all, it's based on pre-order times, so generally, we're not maxing out the space at any given time, only during, holiday sales and off-peak hours, so off-peak business hours.
I'm not intending to give you a hard time. We've seen evidence from facilities that have gone to recreational use, and I may not be using that term correctly, that the traffic has picked up so much that the city probably needs to look at pattern changes on certain streets. It was that bad. So we have an opportunity to do the right thing now. And that's what I was hopeful. That's what I remain hopeful that you can do, but I'm not hearing that. I'm hoping somebody could just get there for me.
Well, we've got the pay lots with the 32 spaces. We've got the 10 employee spaces in the garage, and then we've got ample street parking. We've been talking with the neighbors as well to kind of work through a plan.
Where's the street parking?
The street parking are the pink lines.
Oh, okay.
So those are the metered parking.
So in front of your building where it says that a 5 or a 9?
That's a
That's a
nine.
nice.
How many spaces is that 9 spaces?
9 spaces.
Okay.
For on-street parking.
Correct,
It's
direct.
public parking. It's not neighborhood.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Well, we're getting there.
So right in front of you, I guess, no one's walking a block. I mean, that's not reason. I mean, you guys don't think that's reasonable, right?
We have, I mean, at our sister locations, we have people walking block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks.
Because it seems more realistic to me that people could be parking at that, what, is that a 8, a 4, a 9,
Yeah.
the 2, the 5?
So 9 plus 7,
Yeah, it's taking so long.
20, 26.
I think the 10 spaces,
That a lot.
Who are you competing for those 9 and 4 spaces, for example?
yeah, who's around you? What businesses?
When I've been to the site, I haven't seen the spaces used.
But who are your neighbors?
So we've got Scott Schaefer's building, and then we've got a printing company that Pat behind us also owns, and then Bronson, who has a metal stamping company. So we've been in contact with all 3 of them.
So those aren't heavy retail.
No, I don't believe there's any retail. It's mostly industrial, commercial type businesses. They do say that the street gets, filled here and there, but I told them, I will tell you guys too, we're willing to work with them and limit hours, however to make the flow work best for everybody.
What's your proposed hours now?
So we have limit pre-orders, I'm sorry. So our proposed hours right now are 10 to 9, 7 days a week. And then we have the ability to limit the amount of pre-orders per 15 minutes and completely take it out too if need be. I know there's a question of the drive-through and the printing business and how they have semis coming in and out. And, occasionally they'll need to back up into the 3 spots for our employee parking, and we're willing to work with them on, moving things around on a daily basis if that's what we need to do.
Do you have, and I don't know what your restrictions are in terms of state guidelines for number of employees, but if you had, what do we say, 3 employees inside with 4 people each? Is that what we said? Or
It's a 3-to-1, yeah, so it just depends, like 4 people on the floor is the max that I generally have people on for register. So that is like a weekend after hours, after business hours, type of, flow. So there is not, there's a 3-to-1 ratio for customers.
Excuse me, I just gotta make sure I'm following you
Sure.
completely. So when you have 12 people in the store with 4 employees,
Mhm.
is that right?
I have 13 employees.
Well, she's saying for the floor.
Yeah, it's not, it's, yeah.
So 12 employee, or excuse me, 12 people in the store, are the doors locked? If there's a line outside, what happens? No more people are permitted inside, no more customers?
So that's what we have security. So security also helps with the flow of traffic and making sure the parking and all of that is secure. So they also help with the volume that is in the store. So if there are the max amount of customers in the building, then we do have a wait. Generally, there's no wait. People are usually in and out less than 10 minutes. If they have a pre-order, then it's usually less than 5.
Again, I'm just trying to understand, if there are 12 people in the store, you are not letting 13 in?
Correct. No,
Okay.
yeah, that's an occupancy issue.
Okay, that's helpful. So, I mean, you know, maybe people are in their cars and, I mean, I feel a little bit better with 9 and what was it, 9 and 4 parking spaces right out front. You could have hit me with that first. You know what I mean? That's significant. So I feel a little bit better about it. Let's let other people talk a little bit.
Are you comfortable with the conditions on the variance that the drive-through lane would be without an order station?
Yes.
Okay, and then I see that you have bike racks that you're planning to put, okay. Is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application? Okay, I see some hands. Can you guys give the seats to the? Okay, whoever wants to come first, or you both can come, and then you can go one after the other. So I think you had your hand up too.
Yeah, I think James.
Okay, state your name and without you were sworn in.
Hi, my name is Lauren Delandy. I've been sworn in. And I also am with Culture, so I help open new stores. So I just I understand everyone's concern, and that's always a concern is parking. So we have looked at Akron, we've looked at Columbus and kind of looked at what our anticipated volume are and
So
fully.
ma'am, this is, you're speaking for or against the variance.
For.
So, but I don't need you to explain the variance. I need you
Right.
to speak why you're in support of it or why you're not in support of it.
Okay, so yes, I'm in support of it. We have a plan to cover the expected volume that we will see there. So as Jacqueline stated, 10 to
So
15.
you're speaking as the applicant now, and I don't want you to speak as
Okay.
the applicant. I need you to speak as you're supporting or against the variance and why you are supporting or you're against it.
Okay, that I'm in support of it as they will be able to manage the traffic that they will see there through the pickup window, through the 7 spaces. Within the 7 spaces in the pickup window, they will be able to support the traffic based on the normal, tendencies of patients, customers, what they spend in the store, 10 to 15 minutes. If we have 7 spaces within an hour, you're able to see 28 customers just within that hour with the 7 spaces there, not including additional with the pickup window. So between the pickup window, the 7 spaces there allotted for the customers, the on-street parking, I'm in support of the variances that they will be able to manage the traffic, within that plant parking plan.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Anybody else want to speak? Please come up, sir.
Let's stay together at once.
I can't hear you.
You
Stay
can.
together or?
When she gets up, you can sit down there.
Oh, yeah, you can come up as well, yes. Sir, if you could swing the mic over to you. State your name, whether you were sworn in.
My name is Patrick Davis, and yes, I was sworn in.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm with Able Printing, business that's common with this property in the shared zone.
Okay. Where are you on the map? Can you-
In the drive, I would be to the north, the building to the north of them, that has that common easement.
Okay,
Some of our concerns with this is with the increased traffic, existing tenants leaving because of congestion. We're looking at probably, 25 times full of traffic coming down this street that's already busy. As you know, we have very limited parking as business is there. And with the increased number of spaces they need, some of these numbers, the 4 and the 9, those are full all the time. We have parking over this overflow from businesses on Third that come down to Holly. So, you thinking those are gonna be spaces for this business, I mean,
What are
they're
the,
filled
bus-
right now.
what are the businesses? That's what we're trying to
Oh,
understand.
Ronan on Third, they come, people park there to go to the atrium. The apartments, they park there, for the apartments. They're full all the time. At 7:30 in the morning when I get there, they're not all full, but after
Throughout the
that,
day.
they're there. I mean, you go right now, all those spots are gonna be full. So, I have concerns with parking and what's the pressure that puts on, the other businesses in the area that employees are asked to walk over a quarter of a mile to get to work on a rainy, snowy day in Columbus. Open spot's gonna look awfully attractive. Customers, 1/8 of a mile or more. How do we as a business that have customers, not nearly the volume, a few a day in my business, we mainly are delivering to, how does that impact our parking?
How'd you manage with the previous biz? I forget what was in there previous.
There was like a recording studio. They did not have this kind of volume. I mean, they'd have a band come in at night and record, maybe 10 employees, 12 employees. But, from the, I think, they came up with a plan for, those 10 additional spaces. It's a great idea. I mean, if you want to walk. Part of my biggest, all that is fine. It's a concern, but have to live with it. My concern is the common easement drive. We have a dock in the back corner that we have to get trucks to. We do daily deliveries out. I can't say we have, 40-foot trucks coming in on a daily basis, but they do come in. We made 4 trips today with the truck. We're gonna block, there's only 16 feet 3 inches of drivable space, so you can't get 2 cars by.
I think we reviewed that with maybe your colleague last time. You don't have an entitlement to the street. You know what I mean?
Right.
You guys have to share that. And I
Right.
think as we looked at it, it could work out where you could share it.
I've been there for 24 years sharing it. And so, I don't have a problem with that.
This generally didn't create, as a board, we were not overly concerned about that piece because that's navigable. They can figure that out. It's the parking piece that becomes a continued concern. And I think it is easy to control 10 employees to say, you must not park here. You can only park here. I think they can guarantee that.
Yeah, I think, the employees, it's real easy to tell who's an employee's car after a few weeks, who's who. But 200, estimated numbers I was given by them is 250 transactions a day. And can be all the same 250 people a day. I'm not gonna know who's coming into our lot and parking. How do I control that?
where is your lot?
Just to the north of this building. I mean, we have 5 spots. I mean, we have 4 employees. We will have to park on the street or someplace else because currently we park in the back. I think there's enough room to fit a car on our dock. We can bury it in there. So I mean, parking is a great concern. I've talked with, other businesses in the area, banners, stamping, they're all concerned about parking, concerned about the traffic. We're going to, over a block away, foot traffic. How are they gonna be, coming through, crossing through other people's property to get to it is a concern too, of safety. I think, right now, there is no traffic back there, foot traffic. Nobody's gone through. There's no reason for anybody to be bad, but now it's opening up, coming from Norton, coming from Oxley.
And am I correct that this they're already operating a marijuana dispensary now, and they're just moving to a dual use?
No, it's a
It's brand
manufacturing
new.
facility.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so I mean, the parking is of great, concern, but I think, I propose to, becoming, before this meeting, maybe an alternative for the drive-through. The drive-through, I think, this variance of no pass lane. I mean, I think there should be a bypass lane. I think that's how, if we are on the dock, if we had a bypass, there wouldn't be an issue. But there's not room. I propose maybe another way of, the flow for a pickup window of relocating it. I think that would maybe mitigate some of those concerns for our, operation of our business. If we can't get material in and out, that's a problem.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's,
Content,
okay.
you have 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Can you state your name, whether or not you're sworn in, and don't forget to speak into the mic.
And you can sign your name on that list too.
My name is Mitchell Davis, representing Able Printing Company, and yes, I've been sworn in. As my father has stated, we have, the same concerns, and we're here to represent our company and to work well with the cannabis company coming in. We see that this is clearly the way of the world and that much is being driven to it, so we're wanting to do this in the most respectful, most meaningful way possible. Like my father said, I grew up at this building, I have a feel for it. I can't talk all the legalities and all the codes of this nature, but I have been there. I feel this area. I know the space available. Jamie, I sent something to you about, this might not be super applicable, I guess, but I want to say it, to our drive. I think these were mismeasured. We measured it today. It's 17 feet wide. Again, that's not the biggest level of concern for you all today, but that is a mismeasurement or misstatement from building to building. We are at its biggest point, 19 feet, at its smallest, because we have a basement kind of where stairs go into the, into the basement. That point is 17 feet. That is dangerous to be having all this traffic go through. So with the drive-through, I just don't completely understand it. With this drive-through, they're asking for this lessening of spots. They're talking of 12 transactions an hour. That's 1 every 5 minutes. So what does this mean, like, in a practical nature? Like, how is this going to be managed? Myself, I would be 5 minutes late. The next guy in line is going to be 5 minutes, or right on time, excuse me, and then the next guy in line 5 minutes early. How does that get managed in this little spot? You have all this. You guys are calling them stacking spaces where the cars will be allowed to sit. What if it does get into the shared driveway? What does that mean for my truck coming in? What does it mean for all our ins and outs? It's very challenging to be able to take this small congested space and to be putting a drive-through in it. I struggle, or we have box trucks coming in, that is a larger vehicle. They struggle to get through this area. It's rather tight. And again, that's based on feeling. Enough with that. That speaks for itself, I believe. It's bypass lane there. What if somebody has to get out of this lane? They're stuck, or they're going to come back through our shared drive and, be in an intersection. For parking, this street is filled. Okay, you had a couple of nice pictures of the day. Yes, the guy was out there taking the pictures. Come their peak times when they're going to sell the most weed, that is going to be full. Okay, everybody's coming home. Some of your clients are going to be walking to you. Yes, apparently 30%, which at 30% having a drive-through, why? That street is full. We are going to make it fuller because we're not going to have the same neighborly sort of ability to park in there. So we're going to take the street as well. How do you decide which employees get the 3 spots? How do you say you other 10 are going to park way over there? How are you going to say or ask your customers to walk all the way down the road, all the way or on 3rd? We have people coming from a bar that's blocks away, Woodlands Tavern, parking all the way on our street. Ronan, that's on Norton and 3rd, parking on our street. And this is the jujitsu, fighters who are parking down here. They were parking much further north than our building where all the apartments are. It is way too congested, and I don't see, if they can get through merely based off of this one visitor lot that's, all the way up the road, all the way at 5th Avenue, as someone going in to buy at their store, I couldn't see myself, why would you walk all that way? And again, that's just based on feeling.
Sir,
My feeling,
Your time's up, but I have a question for you. Go back to the, building, yeah, right there. That top picture, that's the shared
Yes,
drive you're talking about?
yeah,
yes,
And that's your building on the right?
yes,
yes.
we're 10.
And you're saying that's 17 feet?
I have a video on my phone that might clearly show it, where our electrical panels are, where those concrete posts are up there.
Mhm.
That distance from exactly that point until, the other building was, I have, and this is measured, just with a tape measure in our eyes, that is 19 feet, 3 inches. You go further west down the building, there is a basement right there, where there's stairs leading into it. That distance from literally falling into it, again, feeling, I don't, I don't go all the way over to that side. I feel comfortable.
But you can't because there's a fence there. But if you took it down, the cement wall to their building wall for the going to the basement is 17 foot 3 inches, 16 foot 3 inches if you take out the security gate.
Okay.
Which I hope to God we're not gonna take the security gate out.
Yeah.
Wait, what's?
At a point of height and
Where is the
security.
security gate?
It's open.
It's open.
Wait, so, let me.
I'm sorry.
It's open, you can't really see it all so well, but it probably sticks out, I don't know, 20 inches on each side, and then, just as the fixed fence, and then it swings open. And that's, again, just been a shared thing. We want safety in our lot,
So
and
the security gate blocks entrance to that whole alley or?
yeah, yeah.
No, not the whole
Well,
alley.
the back side.
Yeah, it does.
Any purpose of using it, yes.
It's right there. Yeah, right about there is that gate. And I mean,
So who has access to control? I need him to answer. Who has access to controlling that security gate?
Well, it was just mutual agreement with the neighbor before that if we wanted to lock it, then we would do so. We used to lock it, because we used to have more problems than what we do with trespassing and
Okay.
such, just, things on the, yeah, they had a key, we had a key. And-
Okay, so it's just when you want to, it's not locked all the time.
No, it is not. And may I ask, what is, your question with that? Like, why
I
are
was
you
just
curious?
asking just,
Yeah,
no one's ever mentioned it before, so I'm
Yeah.
asking about it, because you're right, it is a space encroachment on the space.
We're not really looking to give them entitlement to that easement at all, to just park or stack cars. That's not the goal, nor is it your opportunity to do the same thing. And I think
no.
that's what you guys have enjoyed for a long time because it was convenient. That's what I understood.
Well, no, we're
That's
in
not
and
what
out.
we're saying.
No, we're in and out.
Wait, guys, it's his,
Oh, okay, I thought this was directed.
no,
towards
no,
us.
it's his.
My time's up, okay.
Yes, sorry.
His is too, but we're just trying to get to the bottom of it so that we can
Right.
make this work for everybody.
so could,
We're saying people can stack in the drive-through, not in that easement area.
correct.
So if that's happening,
But they're saying it's a natural occurrence because of the amount of transactions that are going to be facilitated at this location. It's going to be more than 5 staffs.
it's gonna be very difficult, I agree, but that's where we talk about the security. And when the lady comes back, I want to talk about an alternative about scheduling how many people can be in the store. But that's where the security person's simply gonna have to be out there guarding, and you're going to have to be out there and make sure they are, at least for the beginning, to make sure that this works, like you started with.
The stack, you talking about the cars in the stack?
No, cars in the stack are fine. It's when one more car comes down that easement, down what looks like an alley, that they begin to block. And that's not okay.
And what would you do in that case with no bypass lane? Once that car is in there, it's stuck.
Well, can't they go straight back?
No,
And then, I mean, it's not the way to go, but it is a way to go.
it's a way to go, but
To-
what if we're establishing that we can't fit two-way traffic in there? And I would ask anybody in this room to pass me in this lane. If they're gonna get to that point, and I have a couple points on the security guard, I think that this is very questionable of how they're stationed based on the position of the building and where the traffic is flowing from. That security guard couldn't adequately, or, proactively, stop a car from getting into the lot. Once you're in there, you're already moved through. They can get you, further up the way, or once you're in the line. But then what do? You have to maneuver to get to back up and go back through there. They're asking for no bypass lane. They can't get out this bottom side of the map here. So
Again, I truly appreciate everything that you're giving. So now we can say to them, hey, you need to have somebody manned here. Before
where
they
would
even
you put a man?
approach.
Where would you put a man?
at the street.
So,
You
so
can't
the,
even get down the alley.
so the security guard stands at the street and directs traffic.
They'll have to figure that out.
You guys' testimony's up. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wants to speak on this application? Anybody else wants to speak on this application? Okay, I can't remain sure. No other hands are up. Okay, the applicant can come back up. Before we answer, we have you answering questions, I'd like the board to speak on how they feel about this application and guide the applicant into the issues that you're struggling with.
I'm personally, I'll just start and say, I'm still struggling with parking. They brought up compelling concerns. They have history on this street for years. You don't. They're telling us that these spots are always filled. You have a different story. I would tend to believe their evaluation of traffic patterns of people parking, et cetera, only because they've been around that area much longer. There are concerns, and I know you guys have done a great job trying to forecast what this business is going to look like off of your other models. We're seeing things a lot different here. And I mean, in Columbus, we're seeing a lot different activity behavior. It's more robust. We're forecasting that your business is going to be successful. If you want this location to be successful, you're going to have to find a true viable alternative to have customers on-site parking. You're going to have control, in my opinion, of that alleyway. Maybe you hire 2 security guards. I know that in many cases, you guys have mandatory minimums. You might have to go above and beyond. Just like different businesses go into different sites, they have to tailor their needs to the site. You can't one size fits all them in this case. You're going to have to figure out how you avoid these issues, these big concerns for traffic. And they make compelling points about all of this. That's the only way I can be a yes, is that you have control over how many people are in this building, and you might need to pare it back by 1 employee during a 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 when most of these other businesses are open. And you'd have to have somebody manning that alleyway, that easement, not even allowing people down the street or down the alley until there's room to stack in the stackable area for the drive-through. That's my opinion.
No. I appreciate you guys coming back with solutions. I'd be a little more comfortable if you guys did the 3 parking spots. So we had 10. I totally understand your reasoning, but 10 gets me a little more comfortable. But as of right now, I'm comfortable with what you guys have provided.
Yeah, I guess, so I got a couple things here. So first of all, the existing site had parking, head-in parking on Holly Avenue, just like the neighbor. Non-conforming, which basically is non-conforming parking. So if you measure both lots equally, you could pick up the extra 10 spaces on their property, but they can't do it because it'll be illegal. But the neighbor gets to do it because it's existing non-conforming.
We've done that before. We've made smaller parking spaces for people.
But they're not allowed to back up into the street. You see what I'm saying though? You see how the neighbors, I mean, if you judge them equally, they wouldn't be allowed to park there. The other thing I'm noticing is that in the alley, there's utilities and a staircase in the alley, built in the alley on the neighbor's property. So it's really not their side of the alley that's the issue. It's the neighbors that they built within over the easement. So it's kind of this weird, there's an existing issue here that I don't know how to weigh it, to be honest with you, because it is existing. It shouldn't be there. They shouldn't have staircases going from in an alley. They shouldn't have utilities on that alley. They are there, and that's probably not going away. So we're still going to deal with this all these pinch spots, no matter what. When I look at the site, I think they could force their employees, the 10 employees, to park in that lot. So that really means they're about 10 short. And could those be picked up throughout the neighborhood? 10 seems like a
10
reasonable
short from
ask
what?
from the code requirement.
So they're 30 required.
Yeah,
They have
10 on site
10 on site.
and 10 that they're dedicated off-site.
Right.
So they're really 10 short on, in my mind.
But I don't think we can count 10 offsite as fulfilling
But that's part of the calculation.
it's part of the calculation, but that does not mean that the variance is not from 30 to 10.
No, I'm just, that's the way
Oh.
I'm picturing it in my head. So I'm seeing it as a 10. I'm seeing it as an ask for 10 on the street somewhere.
And I could live with that, but it would be all 10 spaces are customer spaces.
And flip the 13 over to the.
But I don't think the 10 spaces down and around the block is, I mean,
For employees? I think for employees going to that employee lot as a requirement is not an easy, it's not a difficult thing to manage. And then you have 10 on site. And then you have to pick up maybe 10. Because as she stated, you got 12. How many employees?
Generally 10.
10, that's 22. When you talk about the employees per customers, you got 12 customers, 10 employees. That's 22. We've accounted for 20 spaces. That math works. You can find 2 spaces somewhere. But I still stand by, you have to figure it out. I don't know if my colleagues agree. I don't think you need to be approaching the drive-through without an available stacked space.
so yeah, okay, thank you. I think that is my concern mostly is the drive-through and the positioning of the building and where the drive-through is gonna originate is in that shared driveway space. That's problematic for me because I do see that how that can get backed up real easy and then you're hindering someone else's business, right?
Yeah. We don't want to hinder, and I expressed this to Pat when we spoke over the phone. We can limit the amount of pre-orders. Generally, in my experience, we've got a sister location that has a drive-through, and I know the numbers aren't exact, but based on volume and the amount of dispensaries that are in Summit County and Franklin, the volume, it matches relatively the same. But as I was telling Pat, you can limit the amount of pre-orders for a certain time frame. And if there's a time that he needs that area, we are more than willing to cut off pre-orders and not have the drive-through active during that time. We have no problem doing that. We can certainly put a security guard at the corner there to make sure that there's no backup of any vehicles in that space. That's not an issue either. We are more than willing to make it happen for all parties involved.
How do we control that? I mean, how?
Yeah, I don't know how we manage that from here to say, oh, you can do it, but only if you work with the neighbors. I don't know how we facilitate that as granting the authority.
We did look up the easement and it is between building to building. And it is for the, free use of each business. So I think the easement kind of addresses the idea that sort of system is inherently required to work together,
What does that have to do with what we just said?
Just that, I don't know if there's a way to write a condition, onto the vote.
For the easement?
No, not to the easement, but to your vote. But I think the easement already takes care of the idea of, managing the two.
I don't think it does. The easement is there.
Yeah.
Right, and it's for both parties to use, but it didn't contemplate your drive-through backing up.
Okay.
That's our concern. That's what we're trying to deal with. And we don't know how to put it in terms that are enforceable for you.
Okay.
Well, I think what they'd have to do, maybe do a shared access agreement and limit the times, whenever their delivery times are, you guys agree that you won't be using that and do some kind of shared access agreement between the two parties. We don't have the ability require that, so I would require you guys to go negotiate and try to.
Yeah, that's between the two of them. They
Right.
already both
But I'm
have
saying,
equal access.
if they were to get that and come back, and then you have a shared access agreement, I think that would alleviate maybe some of your concerns, because then the neighbors' concerns are alleviated, but again, I don't know if that party is willing to agree to those terms.
Just speaking on the hardship for this site, it does have all the parking spaces in front. And it would be ideal to be able to keep those. It's just that, when it is a change of use, the zoning code considers this a more intense use. And so any new parking basically has to follow code, but from what I understand, it's not inherently in the zoning code that those aren't usable. It's just that traffic management required us to take them away.
Could they be perpendicular?
Oh, it's talking about these spaces right here.
Yeah. So,
You know what I'm saying? Like
Parallel parking,
parallel parking?
off-site, on-site.
I mean, there could be an alternate proposal considered. I mean, our initial comments were, since we saw this as a significant intensification, that the maneuvering was not going to be supported in the right of way. So if that was reduced or eliminated as far as maneuvering in the right of way, I mean, that could be considered, but I mean, that was our thought process.
I mean, in my opinion, whatever the street is doing, just across the street, should be passable for a parking space, you know what I mean? Whatever you would allow for parallel parking on street should be able to be duplicated in that space, and you pick up maybe 2 or 3 spaces, I don't know.
And I got to speak on that. I mean, some of the area, I believe, is actually in the public right of way, so it's taking up public right of way space for those parking spaces. So that's an aspect to consider.
You talking about head end.
But then also it's been our standard practice and policy to remove with redevelopment. There's a lot of areas in this general neighborhood where there have been these legacy parking spaces that, as redevelopment projects come in, we've asked that parking to go away, that maneuvers and backs into the public right of way.
And so again, I'm not saying backing into the public right away, I'm saying let's turn them parallel, just like this street parking is, and maybe they pick up 3 spaces, 4 spaces. So they're driving straight and, just like they're at the street.
Could those be cut into the parcel?
I think we'd have to look at what that layout would be as far as if there's adequate space on the subject site.
You work that up real good.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, are you guys married to the drive up? Like, is that a requirement for this business to operate at this place?
I think the drive up is essential to help reduce, parking demand.
But again, I told Pat that we could, eliminate the drive up if it becomes, an encroachment on his business. But generally,
During specific times or.
right, correct. Generally, we don't, and like I said, we can limit it to 5 cars for that hour. We can limit it, even further from that. So we have no problem operationally. We have no problem working with them and figuring out what works best once we figure out what the volume is actually going to be over in that space.
Okay, so here's how we're gonna take the vote. We have a request for a special permit, and we're going to,
Oh, we didn't approve that the last time?
no, it's still on.
We decided to hold, yeah,
Okay,
just
so
to
we'll,
do it all
we'll
together.
vote on the special permit separate from the 2 variances, which are the drive up stacking and the required parking.
Right.
So, as for the special permit, detriment to this public good, no, this is within the law.
I don't think you guys go through Duncan for a special permit.
There are
There are.
some we have to do.
These are the special
These are-
factors.
These are the special.
For that.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's any substantial impairment to the general purpose and intent of the zoning with a special permit. And I don't think that it's incompatible with the character of the neighborhood to have a marijuana dispensary located. So with that, I will, are we ready to call the question?
I'll call a question.
Question's been called, please call the roll on the special permit.
And I will just say for board members, if you could add some of your reasoning as to why you believe it is or is not a substantial detriment to general character of the neighborhood specifically, since we've heard testimony on both sides of that, I think I would support the record.
As far as it being a marijuana dispensary, I don't think we have.
The impact of the
marijuana there, if you believe that the fact that it's a marijuana dispensary
Okay.
is going to increase the amount of parking.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
might
that's what you're saying.
That's
'Cause I
a
was-
reasonable factor for you to consider if that's how you feel.
But it, just to clarify, would we also repeat that into the variance request as well? Because I think that's,
Yeah.
okay,
There's a little overlap.
but
here.
there's, okay.
Mr. Maleko?
I think there's the dispensary, based on what I've seen regarding the parking, it should not be a big detriment to the neighborhood, seeing that they've incorporated some employee parking offsite. So I vote yes.
Ms. Egelhoff?
I'm gonna vote in favor of the special permit. I feel like there won't be substantial detriment to public good. It's not an impairment, the general purpose and intent of the zoning district's manufacturer. We're not talking about residential. I think they've answered that. The parking and address those concerns. Again, the last factor too, I don't think there's significant incompatibility with the general character of the neighborhood. And also, I believe they comply with all the elements in 3389.151 regarding the requirements to do presentation, and the distance requirements I set up in that statute. So I vote yes.
Mr. Jones?
I too will vote yes for the special permit, understanding that based on testimony provided by representatives here this evening, they will take steps to control hours of operation, capacity, overcapacity matters, so that it does not create a negative impact within the community.
Chair Bailey?
Yes, I vote yes for the special permit. While I do think that the fact that it is a marijuana dispensary will bring more traffic to the area, I don't think that's incompatible with the neighborhood. Because we're talking about, like you said, M manufacturing district, not residential. The code is not, the intent is substantiated, in this use. Yes. Okay, so now, are we ready to call the question on the variances, which are the drive-up stacking area, reducing from 8 to 5, condition accepted that it would be without a order station, and the required parking reduction from 30 to 10,
So do both of those together.
both of those together.
So
Unless a board member has a request to do them separate.
I'd like to do the drive-through separate.
Okay, we'll do them separate. First, let's do the 3312.11 drive-up stacking area reduction from 8 to 5 with the condition that it would not have an order station. Please call the roll.
Was there a motion? What?
Are we ready to call the question?
Call the question.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Egelhoff?
As to 3312.11 on the drive-up stacking, I'm in favor of the variance. I find that and find the Duncan factors and Weymouth factors. Although the variance is substantial, I think the essential character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered. I think the variance doesn't really impact the delivery of governmental services. Not sure about whether you purchase property with the knowledge of the zoning restrictions. I think due to the unique shape of the site and the existing characteristics, you're in a predicament that you really feasibly can't be overcome without the granting of the variances. And I think the spirit and intent of the zoning requirements would be observed in the granting of the variance.
Mr. Jones? I believe that this variance request, as we've seen testimony this evening, will definitely have an impact on the neighborhood, productivity, neighbors, et cetera. I don't think that there are more negative components as they relate to the Duncan factors. But we have no way to control how you control access to that easement. We don't have a mechanism to do that. And that's substantial to me. More substantial than some of the others. I believe that your purchase and or lease of this property was done or has been done in full knowledge and understanding of the zoning restrictions. And I'm going to say no to the drive up stacking area.
Mr. Malco?
For the most part, I think this is, it does greatly affect the essential character of the neighborhood in that it interferes with the current development and rights of the development directly next door. So I'm voting no to the variance.
Chair Pompeo?
I'm likewise voting no on this variance as well. I think it's a substantial alteration to the zoning to reduce from 8 to 5 and not providing that bypass lane, especially when you look at the location of the drive-through and, you know, if we had 8 cars stacking, which I think the code contemplates, which is why it was written that way, that would be blocking the shared access. And so to allow something on paper that we know is not going to happen in real life is problematic. And it is going against, I think, the intent of the code here. I think it is a substantial detriment to the adjoining business, sorry, to the neighboring business. And so for that reason, I'm voting no on the drive-up stacking. Okay, now let's do are we ready to call the question on 3312.49? Required parking, reduce the required number of parking spaces from 30 to 10 with the condition that they would have 2 bike racks installed.
So I guess I feel like I can vote one way, subject to reworking parking spaces. So now where you don't have access to a drive-through, you've gained at least 1 parking space. My colleague has looked at the front of the street facing side, and there's a potential to pick up 4 parking spaces. But I think in order for, if I say yes, I'm saying they don't have to have those. They only have to have 10. And they will not have necessarily met that. Can you help me with that, Jamie?
You can ask to amend the count from, well, no, we can't, you said we have to set up another notice.
Well, no, not if it's a lesser.
It's less.
That's right, yeah. Instead of 30 to 20, say 30 to 25.
So
30 to
15, sorry.
30 to 15.
Less traffic now.
well, no, I was gonna say, we have the drive-through. And stranger things have happened. I've seen businesses that have closed, banks, or I shouldn't say they've closed, but they've repurposed the facilities. And they are using the drive-through lanes of like banks and things of that nature for parking. While this does not have, an exit, if these are employee parking spaces in this previously used drive-through, it's not practical, it's not super convenient. I should say it is practical that the employees figure it out. It's not practical for customers, but what would that look like if they use that for parking from a traffic standpoint?
Well, they need a maneuvering variance, first of all.
Yes, that wouldn't be able to happen tonight.
But I guess how do I we can trigger it by saying you have to have 14 spaces. Or how would I say that? We're going less.
Make them come back for the additional variance.
No, we would change it now to say you need to have 15 spaces and then they figure it out.
So you're adding one here, then 4 in the front?
Yes,
Parallel, that's what you would say, yeah.
then that's what I'm saying. And that, they have to accept that as a condition, or is that just me saying something?
Well, the board would have to agree to vote on it.
So do you understand what I'm saying? You gain that one spot, it should have the same maneuverability that those other 3 spots has.
I agree.
And then the 4 parallel spots facing the street.
It's workable.
Okay.
Okay, so the proposal is that we would vote on a variance that would reduce the number of parking spaces from 30 to 15. And that would put the requirement to you to come up with a site plan that shows 15 spaces and not 10.
You understand that?
Yes, my only concern would be the ability to get it approved by traffic management, to use the spaces along Holly.
That's sort of on you.
Okay.
It beats the alternative because I don't think we were gonna say, hey, 10 is okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that can't happen tonight, but it's up to you all. We could stick with your 10 and vote, or you can try to meet the mark of 15.
Can I take a second?
Go ahead, but let's make it. We've been on this case for a minute. Sorry. It is.
Jane? Yeah. Can you give me your code so I can go get some? Where's the? I think around here. Yeah, there's the.
Well, you got the special cut, that's it.
If you need to start salvation on next page, that's important. You got pretty much.
That's just. Jones. Yeah. Here, to respond to them.
Okay, so we will agree to, meet 15 with, whatever means necessary.
Okay.
And if I could add, or, even if those are able to be permitted, by, traffic management related to the front of the site, it's unlikely there would be availability to maneuver on the site, so there would likely need to be another variance added to maneuvering in the right of way. For those, if we can support, the configuration up there, so.
But and again, just from a practical standpoint, people are doing this on the street right now. So. You know what I mean? So.
What is the maneuvering for parallel? Well, let me not get into that. You guys can work through that.
Yeah, we're getting in the weeds.
Yeah, we're getting in the weeds. Okay, so.
Let them work in it.
Okay, so we are adjusting upward the parking variance requests, so that does not trigger a need to send out new notice. So we are now voting to reduce the required number of parking spaces from 30 to 15, still with the condition that you would have 2 bike racks. Are we ready to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question has been called. Please call the roll. Don't forget to go through the Duncan factors.
Mr. Jones?
Where are the hands? It's questionable as to whether or not the property would yield a reasonable return based on its size, configuration, and location, and proximity to other businesses and sites. The variance is not substantial. It is just beyond what we're accustomed to. Whether the essential character of the neighborhood would substantially be altered, or whether adjoining properties would suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance, they would not in this case, because you're doing everything on your site. Whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of governmental services, no, we don't expect that it would, because again, you're simply providing adequate parking on the site as it exists. Whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction, I believe that you are either making a decision to purchase or lease this space fully aware of the zoning restrictions. Whether the property owner's predicament feasibly can be obviated through some method other than a variance, I think not for the existing business. Again, there are just some practical difficulties that exist. Whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance, we've really squeezed everything out of this that we can. So I would say that yes, it has, and I vote yes. Boom.
Mr. Morba?
I concur with my colleague. Oh, yes.
Ms. Egelhoff?
I likewise concur with my colleagues' analysis of the Duncan factors and vote yes.
Chair Bailey?
I concur, vote yes. Okay, so we have approval for the special permit and approval for the parking reduction. We did not have approval for the stacking in the drive-through. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 278 South Glenwood Avenue.
I appreciate it.
That's what you did to us?
Your buddies out there.
Oh, hey, Rob, I can't be there.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, and I was gonna put a couple.
You have to be behind the sign. If need be, we can hold them up.
Okay, you ready, City?
Yeah. Okay, 278 South Glenwood Avenue is located on the east side of South Glenwood Avenue, approximately 360 feet south of West Ridge Street. Site is zoned and manufacturing district and is located within the Franklinton Area Commission. The 0.09 acre site is currently undeveloped. Surrounding uses include a commercial warehouse to the north, builder supply store to the west, and single unit residential to the east. The applicant proposes to construct a 6-story hotel with 59 rooms and requests a variance to reduce the required number of on-site parking spaces from 59. That was an updated set of exhibits. They're more updated from when the packet went out last week.
Oh, this was on.
Yeah, so please approve those. Again, the required parking for a hotel is 1 per guest room, so 59 guest rooms would be 59 parking spaces. Planning is supportive. They requested additional information on bike parking, shared parking agreements, and pedestrian bike facilities. From citywide planning policies, design guidelines recommends requests for parking reduction will be considered based on the presence of on-street parking, mixed-use development pattern of the surrounding area, the nature of use, potential impact on the adjacent residential uses, and provision of pedestrian and bicycle facilities. Additionally, C2P2 recommends shared parking arrangements are encouraged. Planning is then supportive, but requests with the condition that off-site parking be provided. The Division of Traffic Management also states that upon review within the Department of Public Service, an off-site parking agreement would need to be in place to the satisfaction of the Division of Mobility and Parking Services before the Department of Public Service would be able to support the requested variance. Franklinton Area Commission recommends disapproval of this request. And city staff is recommending disapproval as proposed. Staff could support the parking reduction with the condition that an off-site parking agreement would be in place to the satisfaction of the Division of Mobility and Parking Services before the Department of Public Service would be able to support the request variance. Proposed hotel and other commercial uses on the site would require 59 parking spaces. In order to satisfy this condition, the site would have to be rezoned to a district that has dedicated parking for their proposed hotel. However, until the site is identified, an application rezone is submitted, staff is in disapproval. So after speaking with the applicant, we decided not to make him rezone, but to find a spot within a certain distance. So there was a site that was identified within 700 feet. It's in the new UGN district, which can't be rezoned. So we're asking for a condition that they agree to the off-site number of parking spaces at the site.
Wait, back up?
Sure. So the code says that if you're able to identify a site within 750 feet with the same ownership and provide the required number of parking spaces there, that would be considered parking. However, that would have to be zoned to a limited district or a commercial plan development district. Basically, conditioning the site for dedicated parking for the hotel. Because the site that's been identified is in the UGN, the new zoning, one of the new mixed-use zoning districts, and it can't be rezoned.
So they own that new site?
We have it under contract.
Okay, and so does that satisfy this off-site parking agreement with the Division of Mobility of Parking Services?
If the parking at that site gets approved.
So we're approving that before that step?
That's up to you.
Okay. Okay.
So again, I just want to reiterate for the record, the condition is an off-site property will be made for dedicated parking for the proposed hotel on parcel 010-01839.
So I'm not comfortable approving a 59 to 0 parking areas with all of the departments planning, traffic management, saying they're going to rely on an off-site parking agreement that has to be satisfied with the Division of Mobility of Parking Services. So I'll let you speak on that.
Yeah, 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, you can state your name and whether or not you've been sworn.
Yep, Robert Ellis, I've been sworn.
Okay, go ahead.
My name's Robert Ellis. This is for 278 Glenwood Avenue. And this is permitted use. We started as apartments we wanted to put apartments here with affordable housing commitments. It was turned down by Franklinton, so we went with the permitted use, which is hotel. We have a hotel ready to go with Hometown Suites here in town with Red Roof. It's one of the brands. They're based out of New Albany. This is extended stays that have 2 or 3 people on staff. They're very low maintenance or just in general.
Well, just real quickly, extended stays are not allowed in the district.
Okay, so extended stays are more than 30 days. This is under 29 days, so it's a hotel. Yeah, it's a hometown suite. Sorry. So we have the code says that if you can locate a site within 750 feet, we've kind of been walking this line. Frankly, this was similar to other development patterns. It was a 0 park deal. This is the 200 unit apartment complex that Mount Carmel did. It was the same thing, same conditions where they put it into a garage within 750 feet, and there was a board order. That was part of the final site compliance plan. They were
BZA or a council variance?
That was a rezoning and a council variance.
So we didn't see that.
Right, but I'm saying that there's a higher standard for a rezoning and the Douglas standards apply to council variance. So we've worked directly with, it's a very complex with UGN, given, this application was the first application we've ever had that was withheld for a month because we had to work through, we just got our preliminary site compliance plan back last week, and we've developed what you guys see here. We've worked directly with parking manufacturers, which is Park Plus. These are quad stackers. We're parking at 1-to-1. We're not asking for a reduction, which was previously supported. The layouts here show this is a valley managed garage and 60 spaces, and we're still we're under 35 feet, even though you can go up to 48 feet in the new UGN. And so I think the technical thing that's holding this up is that was the preliminary staff results, which we work with commercial zoning to clear a lot of that. The only, but this isn't really that. We're providing parking, committing to it. This is the first part of that allows us to get the other site too. So this is
So you don't need a reduction in parking?
we're reducing on-site parking to 0 and providing parking 60 spaces within 750 feet with this garage right here.
Right, and I think that instance needs to be approved. by someone else other than us first.
It may be the precedent. I don't think the code states that.
Well, we would review it. It's in the middle of review right now. All the variances haven't been identified yet, but what I'm anticipating happening is mobility and parking service will make a recommendation, staff will make a recommendation, and that will be what you'll base your recommendation on, which is the final step.
Right, so I'm hearing you saying that we're jumping the gun on that by being here tonight.
I believe so. I think the board would be more comfortable if the parking structure was approved first, then the.
Right, that's.
And you think that'll happen like what, on the 6th? Is that right? Or?
Well, our internal staff review will be February 6th, and that will, I think there are more variances that need to be identified. Again, in UGN, it's a 10-foot maximum setback. Your site plan was showing 25, minimum 25% open space, you're showing 23. So in addition to the 3312 variances that you have submitted, there might be a few more technical.
And the board can approve this contingent on that. If the board order says
They can, but I don't think they're comfortable.
I'm not here to push, so.
Yeah, we usually don't do conditional.
So just table it, come back next month?
That's what I would.
Sounds good.
recommend.
All right.
Okay.
Well,
Hold on. Just a couple of steps.
yeah, honestly, if the staff review is gonna be in February, it'd probably be March before both these get heard again.
We'll play later.
Is there anybody here that wanted to speak about this application? Okay. Do you want to speak on whether or not we will table this? You're here, so I have to give you the opportunity to
My
speak,
intention would be to speak on the parking variance that he had for.
and we're not gonna hear that. Right, we're just gonna hear whether or not to, we're going to decide whether or not to table it. And I'm allowing you to speak a yay or nay on that.
I mean, I was here.
If you hold on, if you want to speak, you gotta.
Yeah.
You want to come up and speak?
Yeah.
Okay, come on.
You were here and spoke against the tabling?
I was here last month, but I was here.
Okay.
My name's Jack
State your
Chambers.
name and whether you're sworn in.
My name's Jack Chambers. I've been sworn in. I was sworn in.
Say your name again.
Jack Chambers, resident. I was sworn in and I was here last month. This was tabled again because he didn't have this proposal. He now has this proposal. I'm just telling you that it has become difficult for me to get community support to show up here
Every week.
every week. He has a plan. Let him speak, let him vote. If you're gonna vote conditional, then vote conditional, but it's becoming difficult for me as a community member and as an advocate for the community to get people here to speak. He's an out-of-state investor, so I understand his time is valuable too. I want to make sure that we're utilizing that the best way possible. And again, I just want to reiterate, I was here last month, was told no to speak because it was being tabled because he wasn't here, and that's fine. Seems like he's got the proposal ready to go.
Is there a, maybe I should be asking you, when the Division of Mobility of Parking Services makes its determination, is there opportunity to be heard at that point? Because I think that's gonna be the place where this parking is adjudicated, right?
Well, and the Division of Mobility and Parking Services has made a determination, and they have requested conditions that would be requested to be added to a potential board, if that would be supported.
For the hotel, but they haven't seen the proposed parking structure, correct?
Correct, yeah, those have not, I mean, that.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, the parking.
As far as the parking facility.
Yeah.
Let me just stop for a minute. You keep pulling this picture up. Is this where you're talking about?
Yes. That's the parking garage location.
That's not accurate. No, that's not it.
That's where the parking garage is going.
Yeah, I didn't want to mix everybody up where the hotel is going versus the parking structure, but this is the site where the parking structure will be. Where is it proposed?
Between two residential homes.
It's a permitted use in UGM ones.
You can, I totally understand your.
It's getting frustrating. I'm not.
You can submit written testimony, and I know people like to be in person, but we do read and consider the written testimony.
I get it. No, I
Against.
know, and I appreciate that. I'm just trying to say, he's here, he's got his posters. Let it vote. I mean, like it's.
I mean, if we, let's play that out. If we hear it, we're probably gonna say no. And then what does that do to him with his opportunity? He has to present, reapply. So, I mean, we can leave that up to him. But permitted uses are still subject to Duncan factors. And I don't know that you're comparable to Mount Carmel or whoever else you mentioned in terms of facility space. That going in between those two homes gives me a bit of a concern. And I don't want to really adjudicate this unless we're going to adjudicate it, but I'm okay if we do this, if the applicant's okay, having to reapply.
Jamie, I have a question, just for my benefit. You're saying in the UGN zoning district, the parking structure is a permitted use?
Yes.
So board, it's a little bit of a nuanced question. The variance you have before you, yes, is subject to the Duncan factors. You're not technically seeing the parking structure on the UGN district. However, these two are going hand in hand, is my understanding, because there has to be a parking agreement to.
They don't have to go hand in hand, but I think that'd be the preferred method.
Are you thinking that we won't vote on that anyway because it's a permitted use?
No. There are still development standards that need to be
Right.
addressed by the board.
But the fact of the parking structure
Right.
being in the district will not come before, you might have like setbacks for variances
Development.
that you're used to. But the fact of the parking structure in the district is not gonna be a decision for the board, right?
Correct.
So I guess what I'm hearing is they have to be together because on its face, we would not allow you to reduce parking from 59 to 0. So that would be a no, but for the fact that you're saying I have alternate parking, but we need that to be approved before we would say yes on this variance that's before us. So I hear what you're saying about the time inconvenience. I don't have a good answer for you.
I'm not here to criticize that. I'm just here to say that if he's here to play game, then let's play game.
But if he's wanting to table it,
Then he can table it.
then his,
I'm not telling him not to table it. I'm saying if he's here and he wants to present.
but it's a false choice because I'm saying we're not gonna approve a 59 to 0. So he's.
That's your.
Yeah, so he's
That's
not
your
gonna.
problem. I'm not gonna tell you how to
So
vote.
he's not gonna walk away with a no vote. He wants to bring it back and hit
He
us.
can do that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I just,
Okay. Anybody else here that wants to speak? Can you come up, sir?
I need to steal this pen.
Okay.
Take that.
Can you pull the mic to you and state your name and whether you were sworn in?
Yes, my name is Chris Sherman. I have not been sworn in.
Okay, can you raise your hand? You promise to testify you give tonight with the truth, nothing but the truth. Please state I do.
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
I guess this is just sort of an example of the continued, the applicant's lack of use of design professionals, engineers, architects. I think this is just going to continue to happen in terms of the hearings and some other sort of things that appear to be unprepared. And that's all I really wanted to say. As a resident of Franklinton, and I also live 5 parcels down from the proposed hotel.
So I would recommend for everyone that's here tonight to, like, Board Member Ingolf said, put your testimony in writing so that it can go with this application as it gets to whatever stage it gets to, so that we're causing a little bit of a less of a hardship for you, in case you can't be here the next time it's heard. That's what I can offer. Okay.
Thank you.
Applicant can come back up. Do you still want to request?
I just have of course, yeah, I just had a point of clarification for the, it's just satisfaction to the division of parking and mobility, that's the approval, that the standard that's applied, the 59 spaces, is that correct?
The condition.
Yeah, the condition is if the division
For the
of
hotel.
parking and parking.
So
But with the other side, with them going hand in hand, the threshold is, the reason it's being tabled is because we don't have an approved by the Division of
Correct.
Parking and Mobility. So if with the Division of Parking and Mobility, that would be the proper time to return to the BZA, is that correct?
Well, what I'm foreseeing is in March, you'll come in with a list of variances for the parking structure, which the board will vote on. If planning or whoever is adamantly opposed to what your design is or the setback or any type of variances and that gets shot down, that takes the hotel off the table.
Without a reduction.
But
I
if
can
the
still
parking
reduce, I can
structure is
still reduce
approved by
it.
the BDA, then that default makes staff an approval of the hotel, which I think is good.
Yeah, we also did parking studies and everything, but
Did what?
we did parking studies, we conducted parking studies and we've done everything required or asked by the city, so. But it's fine, we'll present in a few minutes.
Okay, so we will vote on the tabling. Is there a motion to table?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Please call the roll.
Mr. Malaka?
yes.
Ms. Egelhoff?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Chair Pompey?
Yes, tabled. Thank you.
It's behind the
Oh,
sign.
I'm sorry.
5400 Bachman Road.
Number 6.
You ready?
Yeah. All right, 5400 Bachman Road is located at the northwest corner of Bachman Road and Winchester Pike. It is part of Greater Southeast Area Commission. And existing zoning is LARLD, Limited Apartment Residential District. The 63.65 acre site is currently undeveloped. Surrounding uses include similar farmland and single unit dwellings to the north, south, east, and west. The applicant proposes to construct a townhome complex. In order to develop this project as proposed, the applicant is seeking relief from the requirement that townhomes front public streets as opposed to private streets. The site was recently rezoned to the LARLD Apartment Residential District with the passing of rezoning case C 23-006. Planning supports this proposal. The request for variance will allow the site to be developed in a manner consistent with standards of the Z 23-006, which are generally consistent with citywide, Columbus citywide planning policies, C2P2 guidelines, and was at that point supported by staff. With the revised site plan, division of traffic management, staff review comments for application BZA 24-133 are resolved. And the Greater Southeast Area Commission has recommended approval of the request variance, voting unanimously. The department's recommendation is likewise that of approval. Staff recommends approval as the variance is technical in nature and would allow the site to be developed in a manner consistent with the previously approved proposal for rezoning case Z 24-006. We did receive at least one communication in opposition via email. I have included that email here. The email at the top is the opposition. Check.
Can you say your name when you sworn?
Yes, ma'am, Molly Gwen, and I'm sworn.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, yes, as staff noted, the entirety of the site was zoned to an LARLD rezoning. It is primarily for multi-unit residential development with an affordable housing component as well as a senior age restricted housing on the portions of the property to the north of the site that are shown right now. The area in question, the acreage right here, it's about 16.96 acres. It has been established as its own parcel, and it is again subject to that LARLD zoning. And what the developer would like to do here is some single-family townhomes. So they do meet the standard, the design standard under City Code 3333.41, but there is a requirement in that code section that each townhouse shall have a minimum of 15-foot frontage on a dedicated public street. Because this is an apartment residential limited district, these are all private streets in here, and so we would just like the ability to develop these townhomes, develop this product, again, on the private streets and be able to sell fee simple lots. We think it'll be a nice complement to everything else that's already rezoned there. And we have had some exchanges with Mr. Kirk regarding some clarification on the setbacks, the site plan, and the parking. And we are meeting the approved PUD zoning text that was approved for this property, as well as all of the other city design standards, and believe that these homes are consistent with C2P2 standards as approved in the text and as in the code. And thank you very much.
Okay.
So,
Is there anybody else that wants to speak on this application? Okay. I think I heard staff, I think this is a technical variance with the apartment complex being private roads. I get that. So I don't think this is a substantial detriment to the neighborhood or to provision of government services. I don't think that this could be obviated through another method.
Chair, sorry to interrupt before that. Would you ask if there's anyone in the audience?
I
Wants
did.
to- Did you do that?
I thought I did, yeah.
Yeah, you did. Oh, I'm so sorry.
you want to speak?
Yeah. I took me off my train homework. I'm getting back first. I think the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance is not altered or challenged. And I think that this is a reasonable ask, and I support the variance with no conditions. Are you ready to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called, please call the roll.
Ms. Egelhoff?
Yes, I'm a vote in favor of the variance based on the analysis by the chair of the package.
Mr. Jones? I concur based on the technical nature of these, the requested variance. I vote in favor.
Mr. Malefo?
I vote in favor of as well, based on the technical issue involved, and concur with the chair.
Chair Von Bailey?
Yes, variance granted, thank you. 245 East Lakeview Avenue. Is the applicant here for 245 East Lakeview? Okay.
Yeah, probably not. This is, I received an email from the applicant for this case that they were having chest pain, so
Okay.
they opted to get that checked out.
Yeah,
They were going to see if they could have their spouse attend.
Okay, we'll
But
come
it's-
at the end.
Yeah,
Okay, 1877 East 17th Avenue.
So could you explain that? I wanted to address this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So,
Yeah, I should have said that. So the applicant is not here, and we usually just put those to the side to the end to see if they've made it by the time that we're closing.
okay, so they can be here, which I can still submit, or how will I submit, or can I submit to you now?
You can submit in writing, if you want, because what we'll do is just postpone, we'll just table the cases at the end who are not here. And so they'll have to come back in a future date.
That's what I mean, you will not make a decision.
No.
On that. I appreciate it, thank you.
Okay,
Well, unless they show.
unless they show up. Unless they show up before we adjourn the meeting.
Now, my concerns, can I just submit this?
Yes.
certainly.
Thank you.
Do you have a pen?
1877 East 17th Avenue.
Yes, ma'am.
Sign in the roll.
Got it done.
Okay, we'll hear from the city.
1877 East 17th Avenue is located on the southwest corner of Woodland Avenue, East 17th Avenue. Is zoned M manufacturing, part of the North Central Commission. The 6.73 acre site is developed with a 103,000 square foot warehouse. Surrounding uses include warehouse facilities to the north and west, and the cemetery to the south and the east. The applicant was cited for multiple violations, including failing to obtain zoning clearance and altering the site plan of record. The applicant requests variances to not screen a dumpster, to allow a gravel parking areas for semi-truck trailer parking, to reduce the storage setback from a residentially zoned district from 100 feet to 0 feet, to reduce the landscaped area for screening for for screening parking from 4 feet to 0 feet, to reduce the maneuvering area along East 17th Avenue from 20 feet to 16 feet, and to grant a special permit to allow a food truck to remain on site year round. The applicant can also request a reduction of the parking setback from 25 feet to 16 feet for spaces along East 17th Avenue. And yeah. Planning is generally supportive of the proposal, but requests street trees along the East 17th Avenue and Woodland Avenue frontages. The North Central Area Plan recommends street trees should be planted along street frontages. Staff note the proposal is to legitimize existing conditions. The plan does not address the issue of special permits. As such, planning has no comment on the request for a special permit. Staff recommend the applicant consult with the city forester regarding the new street tree planting. The Division of Traffic Management has no comments on the variance requested with this application. It is noted that the existing conditions along East 17th Avenue frontage of the site related to the requested variance to 3312.25 are partially a result of a roadway and sidewalk construction project per street construction plan 2678-E and associated right-of-way acquisition as recorded in instrument number, and I'm not reading. The North Central Area Commission recommends approval with a vote of 5-0. Staff can recommend approval of the requested variance and the special permit. The variances aim to legitimize existing site conditions and are consistent with the site's industrial character. Additionally, staff note that the existing conditions along East 17th are influenced by prior roadway and sidewalk construction projects. These improvements will support the site's continued operation without significantly impacting nearby properties. And you're asking the condition that the applicant consult with the city's forester, develop a plan for planting street trees along East 17th Avenue and Woodland.
Question for traffic, on the maneuvering, you're saying that there's a construction project. And so you're saying that once that's completed, they won't have it's not here.
It's not here. I can address it.
State your name and whether you've been sworn in.
This is Jack Reynolds. I'm an attorney with Smith and Hale, 37 West Broad Street.
Daryl Miller. I'm the owner of the property that we're here for.
Okay.
Simply stated, the city came through and bought property along 17th Avenue to do road improvements and to add a sidewalk. And so by buying that property, they reduced the setbacks along 17th from where we originally complied by purchasing the right-of-way. It reduced our setbacks. Okay. So what's happening here is by being cited and preparing the site compliance plan, it was noted that we didn't meet the maneuvering requirements because of the purchase of the right-of-way. So all we're doing is we're identifying an existing condition that was created by the city of Columbus when they purchased that right-of-way.
Okay, and so they're signing off on it, so.
Yes.
I'm gonna defer to
Yes, they're acknowledging that they purchased it and they created the situation for the maneuvering and for the reducing of the parking setbacks. Okay. That are two of those variances that you see in front of you this evening.
Okay.
And so basically what we have is we were cited, we submitted our site compliance plan. When we went through that process, we identified these variances as well as the special permit. This area is kind of a desert for places to eat. And so that trailer is well attended, well used because there's no place else to eat in the area. It was originally over across the street at the BP station and they were forced to move. So they came over here and we'd like to keep it here.
Okay, so all of these variances then are to accommodate that food truck
and the existing conditions on site.
Got it. Okay.
Nothing here is new.
What about the dumpster? Like what's
the dumpster actually sits way back in the site and cannot be seen from, again, this dumpster, you see where the kind of the cross hatch is along the right side of the building.
Oh, right there.
Right there. So it sits back there, and that's back behind a screened area as well as a screening on the fence.
And
So
who's gonna, where's the gravel parking area?
the gravel is along the, again, over here, yeah, there, and just a little bit north, there's a little bit of gravel there, yes. So those are all existing gravelled area.
Okay, so
So,
why are we voting on that today?
yes.
I'm asking why.
Why? Because it's an existing condition.
Okay, so you got approval to do that before or no?
It was on the site plan and that was approved, and now we've come back through and the city said you need a variance if you want to continue to park there, and we'd like to continue to park there as a gravel parking area.
Okay, okay.
Everything else is
You know why
paid.
you were cited?
When were we cited? The city, I hate to say this, but the gentleman on the north side of 17th is a client of mine who was cited by the city. Next to him is another client of mine that was cited by the city for non-compliance. So what the city did was they drove down 17th and just started citing people.
And we just did a variance for that. That was a funeral parlor that was here a couple
Right.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
A couple months ago, it was right there. So they might have been out there for that too.
Yeah.
It's one of the nicer sites out there, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah. Savas is the property across the street, and then the next door to it is, and you'll see me in about a month and a half, 2 months on the next door neighbor. So I guess the city got aggressive in certain areas and started citing people, and that's why we're here.
Okay. Is there anybody here to speak about this application? Okay, did the board have any other questions for the applicant before we go to the young factors?
No.
Okay, so while the variances appear substantial, I don't think that they are. There is a technicality with getting some existing issues in compliance, the dumpster, the gravel, the storage, landscaping, et cetera. It sounds like there was a purchasing of a right of way that required the reduction in the maneuvering area and the setback. So I don't see substantial detriment to the character of the neighborhood. It seems like this is a heavily manufacturing area. I think that the property owner had knowledge of these zoning restrictions and is trying to come into compliance. I think that there would not be a reasonable return on the property without the variances, because these are existing and you need to continue operating your business as you've been. I don't think the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement is altered, and there's not an injustice done by granting these variances. The community seems to be in approval with the vote of 5-0. So with that, I think I would be in favor of allowing the variances. We will separate the variance vote from the special permit, which would be the portable building.
Yeah.
So we'll separate those. So for the variances, those are the Duncan factor analysis I just performed. Are we ready to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Mr. Malaka?
Yeah, based on the chair's assessment, I vote yes.
Ms. Egelhoff?
Yes, I'm gonna vote yes. I likewise agree with the chair's analysis of the Duncan factors.
Chair Connor Bailey?
Yes, variance granted. Okay, so the portable building, granting special permit to allow the food truck to remain on site year round. The factors, again, no substantial detriment to the public good. Actually, this was providing a service to the workers here at this facility who need a good place to eat. No substantial impairment of the intent of the zoning district. We do allow for food trucks to remain on site year round where there's space that's allowed. And then I don't think there's any incompatibility with the character of the neighborhood. Again, this is manufacturing and not, altering, views for residents or anything like that. So I would be in support of voting for the special permit. Are we ready to call the question?
We'll call the question.
Please hold roll.
Ms. Egelhoff?
Yes, I'm gonna vote in favor of the special permit based on the chair's analysis of the factors in 3307.06.
Mr. Malaka?
I concur with the chair as well and vote yes.
Chair Brown Bailey?
Yes, your special permit is granted.
Thank you very much, folks.
Appreciate it.
Okay, 3905 Sullivan Avenue.
All right, 3905 Sullivan Avenue is located at the southwest corner of Sullivan Avenue and Holly Hill Drive. Site is in a new CHP Community Activity Center district and is within the Greater Hilltop Area Commission's jurisdiction. The 2.137 acre site is developed with a 13,258 square foot automotive service station. Surrounding uses include an auto dealership to the east, fuel station and convenience store to the west, an AEP laydown yard to the north, and single unit residential to the south. The applicant proposes a change of use to a marijuana dispensary and requests a special permit as required currently by CC City Code 3389.15. The planning division has no comment on this proposal as the Hilltop Land Use Plan and Columbus Citywide Planning policies do not address this matter. The Division of Traffic Management has no comments and the Greater Hilltop Area Commission recommends approval. City staff recommends approval as the applicants have provided a presentation to the applicable neighborhood group with the following information: an introduction of the company along with background, anticipated earliest opening date, operating hours and days of the week, and an emergency contact name and number. With any conditions, Madam Chair.
Okay, can you state your name, whether you're sworn in?
Yes, my name is James Matthew Judge. I'm the Chief Compliance Officer for Theory Wellness, and I have been sworn.
It sounds like you've met the standards. You have no other requests for variances, just the special permit for the dispensary.
That is correct.
Do you have anything to add to the application?
No, unless there are any questions, I'll take any questions that you have.
Do you have any questions for the applicant?
No.
Is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application? Okay. Well, without any questions, the special permit standards, no substantial detriment to the public good. It looks like the property is, well parked. You're not requesting any other variances to operate, so we have no reason to withhold, on those grounds. No substantial impairment of the general purpose and intent in the zoning district in which the use is proposed. It is allowable use. And no significant incompatibility with the general character of the neighborhood. We're not requesting any variances for closeness to a residential area or anything like that, so I see no reason that we would not vote to approve. Are we ready to call the question?
We'll call the question.
Question's been called, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
I would agree that conditions have been met to satisfy the requirements for issuing a special permit, and would note that there is no one that has come forward from a community that has indicated that granting a special permit would cause harm or detriment to the community. So with that, I vote yes.
Mr. Malaka?
I concur with my colleagues and vote yes.
Ms. Egelhoff?
I concur with my colleagues that the special permit is appropriate under 3307.06 and based on staff's testimony that they've complied with the requirements under 3389.151 and therefore grant special permit.
Chair Brown Bailey?
Yes, special permit granted, thank you. 3464 Sullivan Avenue.
I've been sworn in. So see.
Okay, can you state your name and whether or not you're sworn in?
I'm Jean Cabral and I've been sworn in.
Okay,
Jose Perez, and I'm being sworn.
okay.
3464 Sullivan Avenue is located on the north side of Sullivan Avenue, approximately 58 feet west of Durer Road. It is zoned CAC and part of the Greater Hilltop Area Commission. The site is developed with a fuel station. Surrounding uses include an eating and drinking establishment to the east, retail to the north and west, and residential properties to the south. The applicant was cited for not obtaining a special permit to allow a mobile food vending unit to operate in a required parking space. A special permit is being requested to allow a portable building used as a food truck to remain on site permanently. Planning has no comment, as neither the Hilltop Land Use Plan nor the Columbus Citywide Planning Policies address the issue on special permits. The Division of Traffic Management states that a right-of-way dedication of 40 feet from the center line of Sullivan Avenue would be required. The Greater Hilltop Area Commission recommends approval with a vote of 11-0. Staff is recommending approval. While the C2P2 policies do not specifically address special permits for portable buildings, staff can recommend approval. The proposed food truck aligns with the existing commercial activity at the site. It will not detract from the character of the surrounding area.
Okay, you have anything to add to the application?
Just since that picture was taken, the truck has been moved to the back of the lot, which abuts a warehouse with parking. So it's not against residential, but it's actually in that picture in the, right there.
Oh,
And that's where it's gonna stay.
okay.
So, and because of the change in zoning, we're still providing parking spaces and such, even though they're not required as part of the net rezoning. But everything out there is, we're asking for no other variances, no changes to the site. They're just gonna park in the back.
Okay.
Did you bring this before?
No, that was a different food truck. I am the food truck queen. Let me tell you, I got a couple more awards, so.
All right.
And you guess word gets around.
Well, you keep doing the same kind of stuff and suddenly people about call Jean.
Right. Okay, is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application?
The owner of the truck is here, but I don't know if he needs to really say anything. He has been there for 6 years. So it's because of the sudden awareness over the last couple of years of food trucks being parked. A lot of my cases are like 6 years, 10 years, 12 years, and then we need a special permit.
Okay, so special permit, I don't see a substantial detriment to the public good based on where you're saying that the truck is parked. The general purpose and intent of the zoning district in which this use is proposed is the community activity center district. I find that reasonable to have a food truck in that location. It's not near residents. And I think there's no incompatibility with the general character of the neighborhood. As you said, it's been there for 6 years. I don't see community here to make a complaint about that, so it sounds like that has been acceptable as is. So I think that I would be in favor of supporting the special permit. Are we ready to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question has been called. Please call the roll.
Mr. Maleko?
Yes, based on what the chair's criteria she had stated, I vote yes.
Ms. Egelhoff?
Yes, I likewise concur with my colleagues in the chair's analysis for special permit. I would vote in favor.
Mr. Jones?
I too agree with the chairperson's analysis and my colleagues, and thank and appreciate the applicant for coming forward to address this in a very appropriate way and providing the service. Thank you. Yes.
Chair Pompeo?
Yes, special permit granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
2295 East Livingston Avenue.
Chair.
When you're out of the room, so your paper stuff go out, but it's sitting there like orders to the way.
Okay, great. 2295 East Livingston Avenue is located at the southeast corner of East Livingston Avenue and Berwick Boulevard. The site is zoned in the new CAC Community Activity Center District and is within the jurisdiction of the Mid-East Area Commission. The 0.87 acre site is developed with a 5,340 square foot office space within the new CAC Community Activity Center District. Surrounding uses include multi-unit residential to the north and east, an office building to the south, and an automobile dealership to the west. Just a little history. The site was originally developed with a bank before converting to office use. The applicant proposes going back to a bank with the addition of 2 drive-up teller windows and 1 drive-up automatic teller window. Requests a number of variances, which you see. Just as a little background, since we've never had to vary anything in the new districts, the CAC, the Community Activity Center District, is made up of predominantly auto-oriented commercial sites comprised of a mix of low-rise buildings with small to large footprints, parking areas at the sides and rear of the building. Typically located further from downtown, these areas offer opportunities to evolve into a mixed-use and walkable environment with additional residential uses. New development should reinforce pedestrian and transit access. It allows residential retail service and other commercial uses. The variances being proposed are predominantly traffic. The first variance is to reduce the front parking setback along East Livingston Avenue from 30 feet to 0 feet. Reduce the rear parking setback along Berwick Boulevard from 5 feet to 0 feet. It allows stacking and circulation aisles to be located between the principal building and adjacent streets. The second variance is to not provide headlight screening. Third variance is to reduce the rear building setback for a dumpster from 10 feet to 0 feet and to allow the dumpster to be located between the principal building and adjacent front or side street. And finally, reduce the required number of stacking spaces for 2 drive-up teller units would require 9, and 1 ATM would require 4, from 13 to 8. The reason there are so many variances are because of shape of the lot. As you can see, it's triangle shape, flanked by 3 public right-of-ways. Planning is supportive with conditions. Staff has received and reviewed an exhibit that provides for a mixed, marked pedestrian crosswalk from Livingston to the building front and requests that this be committed to on the site plan. Additionally, staff requests landscaping and screening measures to include street and site trees, ornamental grasses, planting beds, low masonry wall and/or black metal tube fencing to screen the vehicle circulation in parking areas, and provide a landscape corner on the western end of the site. This is the revised site plan showing such detail. As of the writing of this report, staff had not received a recommendation from the Mid-East Area Commission, but we have since received it. It is for approval, and city staff is recommending approval. As stated, the site is in the newly adopted Community Activity Center District, which is made up of predominantly auto-oriented commercial sites comprised of a mix of low-rise buildings with small to large footprints, with parking areas at the side and rear of the building. Staff notes the uniqueness of the site as being a virtual island with 3 street frontages, making it impossible to provide parking without variances, resulting in a true hardship. Therefore, staff can recommend approval of the requested variance. It should be noted again, this is the first of such variance requests we've had in any of the new districts. Staff generally would not be supportive, as the new districts are pretty liberal and favorable towards development. But again, due to the uniqueness of the site having 3 frontages, it would be possible to keep any of the parking or circulation at the rear of the building for reason. So this will be the exception for anybody listening who wants to apply for variance. Have a hardship. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, can you state your names and whether or not you were sworn in?
Matthew Cole, Edward Fisher. No, I have not been sworn in.
Okay,
Gavin Rivera.
can you get the,
Gavin Rivera, Kimley Horn. Yes, I have been sworn in.
Patrick Eaton, Whitell Credit Union. No, I am not.
okay, can you raise your hand? You promise that the testimony you give tonight is the truth, nothing but the truth. Please say that I do.
I do.
Okay, who wants to speak first?
I will.
Okay.
Before you start, how far out were you supposed to send mailings?
125 feet.
That doesn't seem very far. I mean, I'm just trying to put it in perspective. So is that 2 blocks, 1 block? Would you think?
I have no idea. Like, if this were in Clintonville, it'd be probably 40 homes, but this is Livingston Avenue, so I don't know how many properties actually got it.
I mean, I own 2 properties right there on Berwick Boulevard and one on Cassingham. I didn't get any notification, so I was curious. Elmore, can I see this?
We can check the label sheet.
Go ahead.
I do as a matter of course, with respect to measurements and how far out you have to send, I always err on the side of caution and send them, if it's 125 feet is required, we go to 150 usually.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
So as Mr. Freese explained, this property had been a bank for 40, 50 years before it was purchased by a law firm in 2013. It was operated at that point where they got rid of, and had been a bank with a drive-through with Livingston Avenue access. It was then operated as a law firm for less than a decade. They got rid of the drive-through. Ohio purchased this property in 2023 with every expectation to be able to re-engage with the curb cuts and the drive-through on Livingston, or drive-through access from Livingston Avenue. It was only after they purchased it that the new zoning code came into effect. So of the 7 variances requested, a number of them, as far as parking and pavement setback, they would need right now because they're in existence. The setback for the parking is currently 0 feet right now. And as was explained, the other variances are just the nature and shape of the parcel, the kind of pie shape. Ohio approached the city early on with a plan to access Livingston Avenue. This was, in short, effectively denied. So there are really, I guess, 3 variances that I'd like to discuss in particular. One is to allow stacking and circulation aisles to be located between the principal building and adjacent street. So that's in order to access the drive-through on the plan, you have to come in on the south, go around right along Livingston Avenue. So that's one. The second one is the stacking. We think it's fairly innocuous. It's not like this is going to be a Starbucks or a Chick-fil-A where traffic is going to be out onto Livingston Avenue. Neighbors are going to be upset. If it ever gets to 9 cars stacked up there at a time, Ohio has done a wonderful job, and I think they'd probably be pretty excited to see that at any given time. So the history of this is Ohio had been located. They did have a site right in downtown on North 4th Street, just north of Broad, with drive-through, served all of the downtown Central Ohio area. When that was sold, this was the property that was identified that would effectively serve the same area, especially during lunch hour. People working downtown could use the drive-through. Without the drive-through, whether the parcel is economically viable or not, from Ohio's perspective, the answer is no. So that was critical for the reason they purchased it, and the amount of money that they plan to put in here to develop this parcel and bring back banking to what is, I won't call it a food desert, but effectively a neighborhood banking desert, if that's a term I can coin, trademark, something like that. So it's a need for the community. As we were going through the zoning process, there was, from our perspective, there was tension between planning and traffic and engineering. So traffic and engineering would say one thing, you can't do this, you can't have access, which would force the applicant to rearrange the configuration on the site plan. We'd then hear from planning, well, we don't want the access drive here, we want this or that. So it was really trying to balance the tension between those 2 departments of the city of Columbus. And we feel that the current plan does all that. The other variance I'd like to talk about that we requested, is since we went in front of right before last week, we went in front of the Ministerial Commission and received unanimous approval. We had been asked to supply renderings of more screening and planting. So our request isn't for zero. Oh, you got them up there, the new ones, right?
Yeah, that's good. What about the east facing?
Screening's provided there.
Okay, show me. I can't, I see the others look very clear. And in the illustrations, I just didn't see it. And if you're doing that, what are you asking for a variance for?
The text of the code requires, so some of it's timing, right? We hadn't dropped, we have to have certain things within to the BZA before we come here. And we hadn't had the plans finalized before that deadline. So we feel we'll meet, if not line item in detail of the screening requirements, we think they'd be in substantial compliance with the screening requirements. One of the requests was for an initial drawings we had. If you look at the west side of the drive-through, planning had asked for, you know, a wall, something solid, or fencing, metal fencing. What Telhio didn't want to do is have that screening right up and adjacent to where someone might be going through, you know, after hours in the dark and have obstructions right next to a car, just from a safety and whether it's a sense of security perspective, that was a concern. So we wanted to stagger, have screening, but maybe not a solid wall. That's why it was staggered. Does that answer your question?
You've not answered at all to show me what's on the east facing. What you need for parking screening is where you have parking.
What's east facing?
It's on the right.
Yeah, and we submitted that.
That's not screening, that's not shrub work there?
I see shrubs clearly over by the drive-through.
No, I'm talking about down this line.
I can't tell. They don't look like the things on the drive-through side. That's all. Yeah. Okay, so it's on here. It's not on there.
No, yes, sir.
Is it on here? Oh, no, it's not on here either.
Oh, it's not on that one. I need the stamp.
Yeah, you're hearing that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not on here.
May I approach?
You can, he can bring whatever.
This is
These are a little different.
not.
I don't know if that's it, it's only one.
Matt, can I have this?
Yeah.
We have a clean one.
Yeah, what's this one?
Oh, yeah.
So this is a little bit more.
Okay. Oh, yeah, what's it?
But Jimmy, very good.
He's got one.
Mark that. Line about it.
Oh. Okay. So. I think we're convinced on the stacking, the headlight screening, parking. So talk about the dumpster. The setback for the dumpster from 10 to 0.
Yeah, so the dumpster variance is tied to the standard setback, and it's again because of the shape of the property and where the dumpster will be located. Best
Where is it? Where is the dumpster?
It's in the bottom right corner.
Oh, that square, okay, gotcha, okay.
So, you know,
Okay.
unless you put it right next to the building.
Right, okay. Okay. Is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application? Okay, no one's moving. Do we have any other questions for the applicant?
So should we just remove it?
Yeah, so tell me, do you need the headlight screening variance or we're fine eliminating that or?
I mean, we can vote on it,
I'm a no vote, I'll tell you that now.
oh. It looked like you had screening on the map, on the site plan, so not sure why we still need that variance.
We'd be willing to strike that variance
Okay,
for screening.
okay. Okay, so we are voting on the on-site parking, the dumpster location, and and screening, and the drive-up stacking areas. Okay. So I am in agreement with staff and the applicant that the nature and shape of the lot is peculiar. The building placement on the lot is really, you know, the highest and best use of the property. I appreciate the care in which the applicant has gone to ensure safety, considering the operations, when it's designing and screening. I agree, there's not a lot of traffic at banks drive-throughs these days. And so I think the stacking at reduction from 13 to 8 is appropriate and is not a going against the intent of the ordinance. Even if it was to be more, it would still be in your property. So I don't think that there's a detriment there. I don't see any adverse impact to delivery of government services. The dumpster being right where it is, I think it's accessible by trash trucks. I think that the property owner did express purchasing the property under the old rules before the new CAC were imposed. And so I also think that that is taken into account its intent for what it wants to do with the property. I don't consider these substantial and I agree that a bank without a drive-through is not going to yield a reasonable return on the use of the property. So I think that I would be in support of the variances as requested. Are we ready to call the question?
We'll call the question.
Question has been called, please call the roll.
Ms. Agwal?
Yes, I vote in favor of the variances based, I agree with the chair's analysis, the Duncan factors.
Mr. Jones? I too agree with the chair and colleagues' analysis of the Duncan factors. Having grown up in this neighborhood and still having interest in the neighborhood, I appreciate, again, the attention that is being shown to the redevelopment, recreation of the existing building and use, and I vote yes. Mr. Malcolm?
Yes, based on the Duncan factors and the statements by the chair, I agree and vote yes.
Chair Bailey?
Yes, variance is granted. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
1361 Dyer Road.
Dyer Road is located on the south side of Dyer Road, approximately 1,800 feet west of State Route 104. It is zoned R and part of the Southwest Area Commission. The 1.34 acre site is developed with a single unit dwelling and detached garage. Surrounding uses are primarily residential with Interstate 71 located 6 southwest. The applicant proposes to construct a 1,800 square foot detached garage and to raise the existing garage after the new one is built. Variances are being requested to increase the maximum size and height of the detached garage. Planning supports the requested variance. C2P2 design guidelines recommend garages and accessory buildings be placed to the rear of the primary structure. The proposal is consistent with these guidelines and staff concur with the applicant's statement in support and therefore are supportive. The Division of Traffic Management states that a right-of-way dedication of 50 feet from the center line of Dyer Road will be required. The Southwest Area Commission recommends approval with a vote of 5-0. Staff can recommend approval of the requested variance. The proposed garage is proportionate to the lot size, consistent with the C2P2 guidelines, and maintains the neighborhood's character. Chair.
Okay, can you state your name and whether you've been sworn in?
Yeah, it's Paige Thomas and I have been.
Okay,
My name is Zachary Thomas and I have been.
okay. Who wants to speak? Okay.
Yeah, so we're seeking to construct our detached garage on our residential property located on Dyer Road in Grove City, Ohio. The vehicles and equipment being stored are for personal use only. There is no business use for this garage. Like stated, the detached garage will be at the rear of our property. There are no neighboring properties to the rear of our property. It's simply a wall between our property line and the freeway. The planned garage is going to meet all of the City of Columbus setback requirements, as it will be constructed more than 20 feet from our property line, as well as 35 feet from the closest neighboring property line. We also plan to extend our driveway as required by the City of Columbus to the new proposed garage. And as stated, the existing garage will be demolished upon completion of the new garage.
Very eloquently stated, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody here that wants to speak about this application? Okay. I do think this is a substantial variance. And outside of the character of the neighborhood, but I guess because of the size of the lot, it being over an acre, and the placement of the garage back on the back part of the property up against the highway, I think that's working in your favor. And so I feel like the spirit and intent of the zoning requirement, which is really meant to, protect property rights, protect use. I don't think that is being thwarted by your placement of this large garage of the lot. I don't see a problem with the delivery of government services. And I don't see any other factors that would cause me to not support allowing the largeness of this garage on this lot. Are we ready to call the question?
I'll call the question.
Question's been called, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones? I concur generally with my colleague Chair Palmer Bailey's analysis using the Duncan factors, but strongly agree that based on the size of your lot and your intention to house vehicles rather than having them out in the open, I think that everything, considering the Duncan factors, weighs more favorably in favor of rather than against. And I vote for it. Mr. Maleko?
I agree with my colleague's assessments of the Duncan factors on this and vote for yes.
Ms. Egelhoff?
I likewise agree with my colleagues and the chair's analysis on Duncan factors and vote yes.
Chair Palmer Bailey?
Yes, variance is granted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go back and call 4267 Fort Watch Drive. Would you? Okay. Can you state your name, whether or not you're sworn in?
Stephanie Reisen, I have.
Okay, raise your right hand. The testimony you give tonight will be the truth and nothing but the truth. Please state I do.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
This is number 3. but-
yep.
4267 Port Watch Drive is located in the northwest corner of Port Watch Drive and Town Hall Drive. It is zoned PUD 8 and part of the Greater Southeast Area Commission. This may develop with a single unit dwelling. Surrounding uses are primarily single unit dwellings. The applicant proposes to legitimize the rear deck. A variance is being requested to reduce the required rear yard from 25% to 15%. Planning supports this proposal. C2P2 design guidelines state addition should be appropriate and based on the principal structure in terms of height, width, setbacks, and other factors. The proposal is consistent with these guidelines. The Division of Traffic Management had no comments, and the Greater Southeast Area Commission recommends approval with a vote of 7-0. Staff can recommend approval of the requested variance. The deck is compatible with the principal structure and will not negatively impact the surrounding neighborhood. Check.
I didn't think the decks,
It's because it's a corner lot, so there's two front yards basically, so what would be normally, this would be the whole backyard, this is the backyard now, so like, now it's taking up part of the 25% that have to be allowed for.
Gotcha.
for the others.
okay. Okay, so very technical. Okay, do you have anything to add?
No, all those conditions were already existing, so we just were hired to pretty much draw what it was on site. That's kind of the purpose of getting the variance, it's just so she can just have that deck and don't do any more work.
I'm sorry.
Is there an HOA in this community?
I don't believe so.
Okay, we would just make sure that whatever our determination would be, would not be binding upon the HOA to approve such a deck or building.
Okay, anybody here to speak about this application? Do we have any more questions for the applicant? Okay, so I think that this is not a substantial variance request. I think the technicality of the lot being corner and the kind of the definition of the rear lot is causing this. I don't think this impacts governmental services. Since it is back behind the property, I don't see the issue it being, different from the general character of the neighborhood. The neighborhood seems to be in support of it with their vote of 7-0 in favor. So, I think that there's nothing else that they can do other than get a variance because they couldn't build a deck anywhere else on the property, but where they've done it. So I think the spirit and intent behind the zoning ordinances are being upheld, even by us granting this variance, so I am in support. Are we ready to call the question?
Well, question.
Question's been called, please call the roll.
Mr. Malika?
I concur with the chair's assessment and vote in approval.
Ms. Aguilar?
Yes, I likewise concur with the chair's analysis of the Duncan factors and vote yes.
Mr. Jones? I also concur, and vote in favor of the variance.
Chair Pompey?
Yes, variance is granted, thank you. Thank you. Okay, we'll call 245 East Lakeview Avenue. So you guys are here for,
We were notified, to come to this meeting after a area commission approval for 801 Grove.
Hold on, you were not notified to come to this meeting.
The area commission.
Oh, okay.
okay, so we'll adjourn this meeting and then we'll address your concerns.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so 245 East Lakeview Avenue, what are we gonna do about that?
We're gonna have to table them. I did inform them that, we could table their case.
Okay.
That
For
would
a
be
fee.
fine.
Right.
We would probably have to assist them.
Yeah, it's fine, it's fine. Okay, so motion to table 245 East Lakeview Avenue. So moved. Second,
Second.
please call the roll.
Ms. Aguilar?
Yes.
Mr. Jones? The Duncan factors say, I'm kidding, yeah. Mr. Malika?
Yes.
Chair Pompey?
Yes, okay, tabled. Okay, meeting is adjourned. Now you guys can speak with the city about,
Did you guys just get heard by the area commission? And they said the process is to come next here, not literally come here tonight?